It's time for Planet Green.
We have launched.
We've completely launched. We've started the show, and it is Planet Green Trees. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan.
Planet Green Trees. Attention, ladies and gentlemen. The Planet Green Trees show is underway with your host, attorney Michael Kamor.
Alrighty.
We have launched.
Welcome, everybody. We're happy to have you here. We're starting Planet Green Trees, episode number 496. Today's date is January the 7th, 2021. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy and healthy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Let's commit to killing it in 2021.
Heck yeah.
5 days and the whole thing goes to shit. What do you know? There's a couple of good memes that we were joking about that earlier. But
Yeah.
all right,
Isn't that the show title?
the show title is tonight, not even remotely attached to reality.
No, so it's not 5 days when everything goes to
All right, so welcome everybody. We are streaming live on Facebook, and of course we've got our YouTube channel as well, Planet Green Trees TV, Kamor and Law YouTube. Let me go over the topics real quick, and then we can discuss with our group here, our talents, and they can get introduced and answer the question of the week. The topics tonight may involve a rant of some kind. The new Washtenaw County prosecutor will stop seeking cash bail in cases.
Good.
The subtext to that would be like, how many career bureaucratic prosecutors are going to remain in the Washtenaw County prosecutor's office and work there? Paragraph number, or third potential topic, descheduling cannabis, John Sinclair versus the Board of Pharmacy. I guess we've repurposed that one. Always good stuff
Yes.
to talk about.
No, we're gonna talk.
We just
It
repurposed
demands being
because
brought
we're-
back up.
No, let's definitely talk about that one, please. Because there's a bigger
They
discussion surrounding there, and I've been talking
Yeah.
about it a lot lately.
Yeah, yeah,
Which only leads to the real principles. There hasn't been enough talk about it.
yeah. We should talk about that.
Gotta talk about it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We talk about things.
I was not in charge of these topics, but Facebook indefinitely blocks Trump's account after violence at the Capitol.
Yes.
He got zucked.
Yes.
Oh, Twitter took him down too. It's too bad.
I think all
Too
the
bad.
social media took them down.
They
That's
sure
a damn
did.
shame.
Yesterday was a good day that exemplified that walls work, right? Walls really work.
Do you know how rejection he must feel right now at this moment, being totally locked out of social
Good.
media?
That requires
It's about damn
that
time.
requires being a personality type other than megalomaniac. I'm sorry.
Enough's enough, right?
Yeah.
Harborside cuts ties with DeAngelo. This is weird because just a few
Very
weeks
weird.
ago he was on our show. I hope we didn't have anything to do
Different
with it.
Brother.
DeAngelo.
I
Different.
know. That's
Brother.
right. That's right. But we did see. Right. Okay. There was another. There may have been some
But
other disconnected.
he's also connected to the Last Prisoner
Sure.
Project, so it's...
There was some problems with the Last Prison Project, which is what I thought this was referring to. I saw some things. Whatever.
No, this is
All right.
different.
I
Here's
saw
one that
those
was
things,
not
too.
make no sense at all. Whitmer uses her pocket veto on a bill to allow the expungement of first-time drunken driving.
What the actual hell is this shit?
Police and prosecutor influence.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
You know what? They
That's
should.
The
the
old
House.
pocket veto.
Legislature by
It'll
like
get ya.
overwhelming numbers, like only like 8 people
This
didn't
is-
vote for it or something like that.
Right. This is. I know.
ridiculous.
This
Top
is.
sounding
That's
to
what
say
this
as
is.
like there's stakeholders in this.
But this is how the Democrats win.
ridiculous.
This is how Democrats. How does the Democrats win all these years? With they got the crime bill. That's the part of the population that, they're tough on crime. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying that's centralized.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going. We're gonna talk
Fine.
about it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just teasing it.
We're just teasing it. Yeah.
Marijuana sales data reveals Americans bought 67% more weed to survive 2020.
I don't think that's true, but okay.
I don't
But if
know.
they did, that's a
because we
good
were
idea.
smoking
I think they
a
bought
lot of weed.
67% more regulated
Think
weed.
yes.
There you go, Jim.
With their stimulus.
Yeah, they got stimulated.
And, I
think
always
the
think
numbers
it's
look pretty good regardless of COVID for the introduction of adult use sales.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is what we know for sure. Nick Zettel will not be performing any music, and neither
No,
Eric.
not this
Don't
time.
expect it from Eric VanDussen. But nevertheless, let's go around the room.
Do you have
What about
the correct,
Rudoi?
Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
have
Where
the
is he?
correct
Dave,
agenda?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't really follow it anyways. David Rudoi
Border
may be
onions.
calling in tonight if he is. That's our alleged guess. Here we go. So we're going to go around the room and introduce everyone. We got, of course, Tommy and Justin from the bunker. Even though he doesn't like to be on camera, Dan, the man, is somewhere lurking.
Dirty Dan. He's monitoring the situation
Yes.
in Washington very
Dirty
carefully. Very carefully. And very closely.
Dirty
I'm
Dan.
monitoring it very closely.
Dirty Dan had some adventures.
Yeah, he sure did.
So I was going to just toss a question that you could ask yourself, but I've come up with this. If you had the pocket veto power yourself to the guesser, what law would you strike down? Is it too obvious? I mean, don't be obvious. You can't be obvious. What law would you strike down? What is a law that bothers you? You know, something that you feel the authority to just slash it. There's a lot of laws that probably should be because they're just unnecessary. There's too many laws. But if something comes to mind, feel free to explain that. But as we go through the introductions, our dear friend, founder of Michigan Parents for Compassion, and known as Jim Powers in these parts, please welcome him.
Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everybody. It is good to be here. If I had to strike down a law, it would be the Controlled Substances Act. I'd just kill it completely.
That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
It's fair. Get that okay. All right, so Amanda, you are next. Amanda Johnson, of course, from the Elevation Station and YouTube influencer in her own right. If you want to know where the good cannabis and which stores and how they treat you, you can find a lot of that and other stuff.
Yep.
Please welcome our dear friend Amanda Johnson.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm glad to be here. And speaking of traipsing around town, going to different dispensaries, I got this little doodad from Herbal Solutions today.
What is
All
it?
right.
It's
Oh,
some
is that the, yes, yes.
diesel breath live resin.
Oh, that sounds tangy.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Amanda, isn't Herbal Solutions in a unique position right now where there is still some like caregiver cannabis found there?
You know,
Some-
I'm not really sure. I don't ask questions. I don't ask questions like that. I think
way.
It's probably best.
No, I will say this. I
enjoy the cannabis.
without any specific knowledge, I've heard nothing but fantastic things about Herbal Solutions, specifically that they.
That's one of the reasons it makes it a kind of a desirable destination right now.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm not sure, but what I do know is that everybody should go and follow the Comorn Law Planet Green Trees YouTube page.
Yeah.
Go ahead and subscribe, and as Alan likes to say, ring that bell.
Ring the bell.
Amanda,
Okay.
did you answer the question? Did we ask you that? We asked.
Oh, the question. Okay, the law that I would strike down, I'm bringing it local, okay?
All right.
Taking it local.
And I'm going to say that it could be just like a city thing, but I do not.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I get so angry with that.
Yeah.
So it just burns me up, and
Does it-
I'm
does it
ready
grind your
to do-
gears?
Yes, it grinds my gears, chaps my hide, all of that stuff.
What if the parking ticket's only $5?
I don't care. It's principle.
You know what they do?
It's principle. If
they
they're
jack
going to
it
put
up.
it back into the where it's supposed to go, like if I pay a $20 ticket and I walk out the back door and there's broken glass and garbage, the city is not doing their job.
That's true.
Okay?
You know, it's funny. I feel I
They
just
need
had
to
this
do some
conversation.
more forfeiture and make some more money. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Fix their buildings.
We just had this conversation with a client from who was it actually rose out of either Ann Arbor or Ypsilanti, whatever it was, and they got no bend whatsoever from a parking attendant. But I was thinking about it, like
There's a notorious one in Ipsy.
some cities really rely on parking.
It's a scam.
It's a total scam.
If you wait, I mean, they'll give you the ticket, but if you wait more than a week or 3 days or whatever, they end up jacking it up.
Yeah.
And some of the municipalities, I don't know if they'll do it anymore, but I remember back in the day that I may or may not have had my license suspended because I forgot to pay a parking
Yeah, that
ticket.
can happen. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
it's like, what is this? And then your
Oh, yeah.
$5 or $10 ticket turns into a
Exactly.
$300
There's
experience.
Yes.
Yeah, driving while
And
Jail.
especially during these times right now when there's just no sense in trying to monitor that. That's like a wasted resource to have that lady walking around all the time, or any
Well,
parking
it
person.
must make sense. You would think if they're paying someone X amount of dollars and they're giving them, they're employed, they got benefits, they got, all these insurance and stuff, that it's worthwhile to have that person out there. You know what I mean? Because they're bringing enough. And it was interesting because my conversation with the client who was complaining about this was, you almost have to undo the. And David, we were kind of talking about this earlier, like undoing this kind of institutionalized way of thinking. Like, to me, that's the way they're always going to do it. If they can do it, they can do it, and they're going to do it. Let's deal with them. Let's deal with them taking money from people in court, like pay them money. Okay, give them a parking ticket, reduce it to that. Like, it's kind of okay. You know what I mean? But it doesn't make it right.
No.
You should have to pay for your justice. You should have to pay. But the cities do. It's like any other real estate, right? You can maximize it the best that you can, I guess, within reason. I mean, they're the cities, so they get to make the rules. But that's an interesting. All right, Steve.
Well, there's another one if I can.
All time for parking tickets.
Horrible, Dave. Horrible.
Is that Royal Oak or Birmingham?
Royal Oak.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Leave people pissed off. They come to my city, they park, they go in a store, they come out 2 minutes fucking late and have a parking ticket.
Bingo.
They don't want to come back to Royal Oak afterwards.
Yes.
That's not helping our city, and they're so short-sighted for thinking that it does.
I have gotten hundreds of tickets in Royal Oak. Hundreds of parking tickets over the years because I work in and around Royal Oak. Horrible, horrible city for tickets.
Another one,
short-sighted. I think having a free parking city with some sort of guidelines, but like a general free parking city invites people from outside the city to come.
Well, hold on. Royal Oak also has parking structures where they've put up a parking lot.
Yeah. But then you have to walk.
Okay, but my point is,
walking's good for you.
Yeah, but I'm lazy and I want to park on the street.
You're paying to get in. You got to pay in advance. You pay the flat fee, right? I mean, I don't know. Like, there's less instances.
And I mean, they've got a lot more garage parking now. They used to just have the Central Street garage, really.
I want to know: are you against the parking tickets that they give you on the side, or do you capitulate to a parking structure?
No, it's because what I do is I park at the meter, and then I put quarters in the meter, and I'll put 45 minutes in the meter, and then I'm in there for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I come out, and I have a ticket.
And you've
because
got a
I swear to
ticket.
God, those meters have wireless transmitters that are transmitting to these fuckers. And they're on their little scooter, and they're boop! Oh, there you are, and you get the ticket.
I'm sure they do.
I can't believe, I mean, they are quick, man. They are quick.
They probably do have an alert to it, I bet.
What do you think, David?
They're insane in Royal Oak. Literally insane. It's like... But actually during COVID, one of the benefits of COVID is they're not doing it. They're letting people come freely to our city.
Oh, good.
Prior to
That's
COVID,
why.
it was like Paul Blart Mall Cop on his little, what do you call
Segway?
those?
Segways, yeah.
His little Segway.
Yeah.
There'd be two
awesome.
fat guys on Segways just nailing people nonstop.
Yeah.
Nonstop. And it left people pissed off, and I think it really hurts the city. I think, if anything, maybe keep the parking tickets on the street and make the garages free or something like that, and be reasonable, give a 15-minute leeway.
Well, how do you expect us to pay for that garage, Mr. Rudoi, if we can't have people on these parking tickets paying these tickets? How are we going to pay for that garage, Mr. Rudoi?
Tax dollars. I live here.
Where do you get your tax?
Property taxes are.
All right.
Property taxes are a shit ton of money.
I can imagine.
And we want businesses to thrive, and we want to grow this city. Let's stop fucking punishing people for coming and shopping and eating food here.
Yeah.
This isn't
This pandemic.
This isn't the overly express your opinion for the show yet. We're not quite there yet. Just hold back. We're still in the introduction phase. We're at Steve Miller from the Steve Miller Band. Take the money and run and all that.
Take the money and run.
Please welcome him. He's the
That was a good one. That was the 80s.
Yeah,
Fly like
that
an
was
eagle.
a good one.
Fly like an eagle, so good. I think
Fly like an eagle.
So Steve Miller's here. Welcome, Steve Miller. Did you hear the question of the day? That strike down the pocket
Yes,
veto
and
card?
so what I would strike down All of them, except for the 10 that Moses brought down from the mountain, and that's my answer.
All right.
Man's
That's all we
law
need.
out the window.
That's all we need. Is
We can
those
talk
10.
about a couple of those. I think we could wipe a couple of them out.
You think?
Ask George Carlin.
He did do a bit on that, didn't he? It's pretty good.
Yeah, he said it's really just one, don't steal. It's just don't steal. It's like, what's the first one? Don't kill. Thou shalt not kill. Well, that's really stealing somebody's life. He goes through all of them. Just don't steal.
Right. That's what it boils down to. Don't steal other people's shit.
It's okay to covet your neighbor's shit.
That's right.
That's not okay either. I'm in agreement with that.
That's
law.
the intention to steal.
Yeah, kind
Yeah,
of.
that's the intention to steal.
It's like conspiring
Right.
in your own mind.
All right. Let's go to the one that's
Okay
trying
to
to
covet, just don't actually take it.
Let's go to the one that's trying to draw attention to himself because he's acting too opinionated in the introduction section. So let's just get it out. David Rudoi, attorney at law, is here. He's got a phenomenal background there, trying to make it look like he's in a law office of some kind with files and stuff, fake diplomas. Anyways, David, interesting fact, I think is getting married soon. Do you know this? David is a single guy as we speak to him right now, and
whoo,
soon I think.
2.5 weeks, guys.
Wow. I was
Holy
just
moly.
wondering when you were going to
When's the bachelor
freaking
party?
do that.
This is it right now.
COVID bachelor party. Like, it's not a good time for the old bachelor party thing. Like, normally I'd want to go to some cool city and go to like some
Royal
bars or
Oak
something.
Yeah, whatever. But go to blah blah blah. Right.
Royal
So what
Oak's
are
a
you
good.
guys going to do,
Orleans
like a
You know what?
local thing or what? What's
You don't
the
need.
deal?
You don't need a bachelor party.
I'm going to Playa Guiones, Costa Rica. It's a
Ooh,
little
nice.
surf and yoga village, and we're getting a large house for a couple people and gonna get married on the beach.
I think I heard about this at the
Sounds
beginning
like
of the
a
epidemic.
slice of
Something
heaven.
similar like that happened. They had like a festival there, and people went there and they got stuck there for like 60 days and couldn't come back. Remember that? Was that the same?
There was, I don't know if that was Costa Rica, but there was something like that where it was like they were like, if I die, I die.
Right.
And they went down there, and then the U.S. was like, yeah, but you can't come back. You're stuck.
I guess
You know-
another. So you have to answer the question about if you had the pocket veto, what law would you strike down if you haven't already addressed that?
What law would I strike down?
Yeah, one of the topics is the Whitmer pocket veto on the expungement of drunk drivers. So the question of the day is, if you had the pocket veto and you were in charge, what law would you strike, get rid of, I guess, is what the question is.
Controlled Substances Act? Can I get the whole thing?
Nope.
No,
I already
that
got
one's
that
already
one.
taken.
Already took it.
Already
give that-
taken. On your
Stupid
toes.
No, you don't have to.
That's
you don't
right.
have to.
Think of a different
Listen, we've
stupid
got
law.
enough out of him. It's fine. We'll come back to him.
Plenty of them
All
out
right.
there.
Hey, too many opinions for Michael tonight.
No, we got other opinions we want to hear from. Other opinions of people that are waiting to
Let
give
me
their
think on it. I'll think
All right.
on it.
Okay. We have, I see he's looking kind of red tonight. Maybe
Ooh,
the
yeah.
Austin in him.
Yeah.
So, great background. Jeff
Yes, it
Frazier
is.
from Austin, Texas, I think, and the Galapagos. Our dear friend, Jeff Frazier. Please welcome.
Hello, hello. How you doing, man? If I could strike two laws, I'd strike marijuana from the Controlled Substances Act, and I would abolish civil asset forfeiture. Now, we have Joe Biden, who invented civil asset forfeiture, has just announced that he's going to court. Merrick Garland, who upheld the DEA's continued scheduling of marijuana as Schedule 1, be the new Attorney General.
Was he? Let me say something. Was he the federal judge of the Ninth Circuit? This last federal judge that the 2000 and this last go around.
This was the challenge that was brought in the D.C. Circuit. He was, I believe,
That's
the
right.
chief judge of the D.C. Circuit some years back. But good news is we've got Vanita Gupta back in the saddle, number 3 over at DOJ from the Tulia days, and formerly headed up under Obama, headed up the Civil Rights Division over there. So that's good news.
That's some good stuff. Some good stuff. How's the weather in Texas?
Beautiful. 70 degrees, sunny.
It sounds nice.
Should we leave Jeff alone? That his attorney general down there or whatever, that crazy shit that's going on. Some of us like Texas based, like they started that shit. Should we leave him alone about that? It's okay. Anyways,
the guy's an imbecile, man. He's out ranting and raving that Antifa was behind the whole thing at the Capitol. Now he's not active.
And I don't want to make this real political, but the visuals of what we saw last night and et cetera today, we saw it was very similar to what happened at the Michigan Capitol. You know, like I remember, like people from outside of Michigan would, you know, like what's up with this shit in the Capitol corner? Like that seems crazy, you know. So seeing
it was nothing like.
I know, but saying like seeing the citizens like those people storming.
It may have been unsettling, but what happened in the nation's capital.
No, I got it, but I mean, it's got the local. Anyways, all right. I don't want to get it. All right.
It wasn't. I mean, I think we can argue about that. It was a step away.
What the
Michigan? It was not. What happened in Michigan was pretty fucking close. They just went a little crazier.
Listen. They had guns in the
Capitol, and they were yelling in cops' faces. I mean,
they were voting,
but they weren't breaching secured areas.
That's true. They were there lawfully. Right? I know, but it was still a little. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I don't want to talk about it. All right.
It just felt like it was a step, like that they let them get away with that, right? And they were like, okay, well, we can do that. You know, what's fucking next? And it's those same motherfuckers that went to D.C. and pulled the same bullshit. And that was all over the TV. They saw people yelling in people's faces. Nobody got prosecuted. It's all good. I don't know.
For the sake of
a bad precedent.
For the sake of objectivity, you know, if there was 100,000 people there, I don't know how many of those 100,000 were.
There weren't 100. Maybe there were. I don't know.
Whatever. Whatever.
Like a lot of people.
There were a lot, no doubt.
There was more people at that.
Like
there's more people at this Trump objection to the than any other one that's ever. No, it's funny. It's like quoting him. All right, so
it was huge.
Alan Peisner is here. He's looking like a Rasta rabbi tonight in his normal form. He's a master of Zooming, and he may just suck you into a Zoom conversation.
Zoom room
when you're not looking. Please welcome Alan Peisner.
Excuse me. Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here on the Planet Green Tree spaceship, which is sponsored by Comorn Law, the best law firm in the state for anything marijuana related, whether it's a medical marijuana defense, anything related to criminal defense. Comorn Law is your place to call. 800-656-3557 or comornlaw.com. Now, to answer your question about what law I would strike, it would be the Electoral College.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I'm striking at the heart of the Constitution with that one, folks. I would rather just have a straight popular vote and not have to deal with all this fanciness of Electoral College giving us presidents like Trump in 2016 when Hillary won the popular vote, or in 2000 we should have had Al Gore who won the popular vote. But the Electoral College gives them
man, bear, pig.
Crazy results, and I think it's time to end a system that was started by slave owners and slaveholders who felt that their slaves were only 3/5 of a person.
That's how the Electoral College got started?
Yeah.
It was started by those people, yeah.
Yeah, it's time to get cereal.
Slave states.
And thank you, Don. Thanks for being here. And of course, our friend and colleague, and the one responsible for everything, Jamie Lowell, is here tonight with us. Thank you, Jamie. How we doing?
Very good. Happy to be here.
How's the jazz cabbage going? What have you guys been up to over there? Even though you don't give us any props, but go ahead, let me hear what you got to say.
We do give you guys lots of props all the time. That's just an exposure to the fact that you don't ever watch the show.
That's not true. That's not true. We watched recently. I guess all kinds of reporting. Just kidding.
We're talking about a lot of stuff. Got Ed Rosenthal coming on Tuesday, so that should be pretty fun.
That's nice. That's nice. Is he gonna be there live or calling in?
It's gonna be on Zoom, live on Zoom. with Adam Brook and Rory Gold and Dr. Whitty.
This happened or it's going to happen? Which are you talking
This
about?
is going to happen on Tuesday.
All right, good. So
it's going to be weird. It's going to be funny.
All right. What?
So everybody should listen to it.
Let me ask you this: Is there a Were you guys talking about this last week? And I know you mentioned something about the Johnson. We talking about the John Sinclair stuff. What was that all about?
You were talking about descheduling on your Jazz Cabbage show.
Wasn't that?
Weren't you?
Yeah.
So, and we were
Wait,
talking.
so-
That's what.
Right. That's what I'm asking you about. What were you talking about? Explain a little more further so other people know about it.
I guess.
And also,
I mean, I will save most of this for the actual discussion on the issue. That's why I was excited to talk about it.
You were just teasing it.
All right.
Jamie ain't fucking around.
we want to jump into that issue. I'm ready, but I'm sure like Dave's got some stuff to say, and we can get to that in a little bit. But there's certain background to it. I also have like some observations about the whole thing over the last while. I should be praising Commoran Law, Jeff Frazier, and Al and everybody there for just highlighting this issue, even though it's not as known well enough right now, and pointing out the serious flaws with the existing way things are. So I'm totally into having that conversation. Been having it a lot lately. And Michael's right. We should be talking about it more.
Yeah.
And so later we will do that. I'll spend some time now talking about how we're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
Yep.
We are.
Setting the
We are going to have to
suspense.
take a break.
There's no real later. I think it's now or never. But we can take a break and come back and talk more about it because I think it's an interesting topic. And
Yeah, we're going to take a break.
But I tell you what, the choice for people here to strike down a law was, the Controlled Substance Act for taking marijuana off of it. It's stupid that sits there as an existing issue that you have to use up that choice for. Very few things are as so blatantly and obviously just irrationally in need of resolve going on when you look at the laws. That it's just very frustrating that it hasn't been paid attention to yet. And some of the reasoning in the legislature for not addressing it really is additionally frustrating.
I discussed here a little bit. I don't think Alan or David were listening, but they're both maybe familiar with the particular issue as it relates to the basic fundamentals of immunity from penalty or arrest or prosecution. Is supposed to have some meaning, and because marijuana, only because cannabis remains Schedule 1, does the existence of its presence in your life, its presence in your system, still subject you to penalties at all? You shouldn't have to be a patient to get those kind of immunities. But
that's not completely true.
I'm going to make my point when we come back after break. We're trying to tease it, the problems that in some specific areas within the law that still exist that penalize severely, independent of protections and legalization. But you listen to Planet Green Trees 496.
496,
the
baby.
The show is titled Not Even Remotely Attached to Reality.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
From G3 Cannabis Therapy Network, and you are watching Planet Green Trees, the original and #1 podcast in Michigan for all things cannabis and legal news.
Hey folks, this is Amanda Jocelyn with the Amanda Report, sponsored by Commoran Law, aired on Planet Green Trees TV. We're here in East Tawas, and man, Danielle, and we're at the Botanical Company in East Tawas. Tell us a little bit about the location here.
So we are in Northeast Michigan in the beautiful town of East Tawas. We opened in October of 2019 with our medical license. And then February of 2020, we got our recreational license. We have been warmly welcomed by this community, so we're so excited to be here. And obviously, you can always find us on Weedmaps with any information.
Very nice. Okay. All right. So let's hear about some of the products that you carry here at the Botanical Company.
Definitely flower is a fan favorite here, so we want to make sure that our flower selection is very strong. And then obviously we're always listening to our guests and making sure that any new products while they're available for sure.
Tell me about another thing that makes Botanical Company a little unique.
I would say it's our aggressive loyalty program. Tawas is a fantastic tourist town through the summer months. We have to make sure that we're doing right by our local demographic. So we wanted to make sure that our loyalty program was aggressive for them, so they were coming back and spending their hard-earned bucks and getting the best thing for their buck.
Very nice. Okay, so tell us about how somebody would get started here. I understand you have both adult use and medical use. So what would somebody that's looking to sign up, what would they need to have?
On the medical side, you just need your valid MMJ card and a valid driver's license or state ID. And then on the recreational side, you just need a valid ID. And then really we want to make it very friendly and make it a place where either if you're new to the cannabis lifestyle or very well versed and know exactly what you want, we just want to make sure it's a friendly atmosphere to come on in and spend as much time with our budtenders as you'd like to.
So other locations, what can we expect from the Botanical Company, Danielle?
We're so excited. We have our vertically integrated facility being built as we speak in Lansing. Such a strong cannabis culture there. That will be our cultivation, processing, and provisioning. That really is our flagship location.
Very exciting.
So November 1st, we hope to have provisioning open there. So we're just over the moon about that.
Yeah.
And then also, up in the wonderful town of Kalkaska. Such a great cannabis vibe in that town, we love it. We're going to be opening provisioning and then also social use lounge, which is just, we're so excited to be able to come and get your products. They're right next door to each other. You can come and shop and go next door and just check out some music or hang out, and we're over the moon about it.
I can't wait.
Yeah, us too. Us
Yeah.
too.
So I guess we'll have to be making another trip up north to take a look at not only the provisioning center but also the lounge. And I understand there's going to be some awesome Kalkaska Kush.
Oh, Kalkushka.
Kalkushka.
For our friends at Real Leaf Solutions.
Very nice.
And it is something that you can currently find at Tawas store, and we will be obviously providing that. Try it if you can find some.
So keep your eyes open, folks, and we'll be reporting more with their Lansing location and their Kalkaska location. This is Amanda with the Amanda Report, sponsored by Comorn Law and aired on Planet Green Trees. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
An important and historical farm crop in American agriculture is returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President's Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
Michael Camoran is one of the top attorneys in Michigan that has experience and dedication in criminal defense law. Camoran Law can take your case from arrest all the way from trial, appeals, and even to the Supreme Court. The team at Camoran Law has the compassion and the experience you can look to for help in your time of need. Camoran Law has over 25 years experience in criminal defense. We have accomplished numerous legislative changes through community involvement and lobbying. Our award-winning law firm has a reputation like no other for keeping overreaching government accountable and in check. We have built Camoran Law for people who need lawyers to stand up to the system, fight back and win. Once we become your lawyer, you become a part of our family. Don't settle for less, just ask our clients. Camoran Law, the best damn criminal defense lawyers, period.
Hi everyone, this is Amanda with the Amanda Report, sponsored by Camoran Law and aired on Planet Green Trees TV. Dr. Grinspoon, a psychiatrist, was a retired professor at the Harvard Medical School. He was also a well-published author in the field of drugs and drug policy. He authored more than 140 articles in scientific journals and 12 books, including Marijuana Reconsidered and Marijuana, the Forbidden Medicine. He wasn't always an advocate for cannabis. In fact, he was against it, until a good friend, co-worker, and astrophysicist, Carl Sagan, offered him a toke. Until a good friend for cannabis. In fact, he was against it. Always an advocate for cannabis. In fact, he was against it. Until a good friend, co-worker, and astrophysicist, Carl Sagan, offered him a toke. And that started his journey. He made such an impact on his associates and cannabis enthusiasts alike that he has a strain lovingly named after him, Grinspoon. Dr. Grinspoon is gone, but not forgotten. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is Amanda and Daisy with the Amanda Report signing out. And back to you guys.
Here's Michael Comorn with more Planet Green Trees.
All right, we're back. We're back. All right, sit down. Quiet on the set. Episode 496, not even remotely attached to reality. So name it. Planet Green Trees. We've been joined by Federalist and attorney, allegedly, Schuyler Engel, longtime guest and welcome, Schuyler. How you doing tonight?
Doing great.
Good to hear. I don't remember. We talked about a lot of interesting stuff at the break that I kept cutting everyone off so we could talk about it now. Does anyone remember what that was? No, I'm kidding. We were talking a little bit about the John Sinclair. I want to come back to that, and then we can talk about some of these other crazy things about the driving issues. But the topic they were talking about regarding the remaining scheduling of Schedule 1 of cannabis creates problems for individuals where they shouldn't, because of its remaining as a controlled substance, Schedule 1. I've talked a little bit on the show. I've shared this case where a nurse who had been recommended by a physician to use medical cannabis, that physician got their license from LARA. The same LARA agency gave the nurse her nursing license, and when there was some allegation against her, they sent her to do some kind of drug evaluation, and she tested positive for carboxy THC because her doctor recommended she use medical cannabis and whatever her other prescribed medications were, and they took it out on her, not the doctor that prescribed it, after following the advice. So here's another example of why would this be a problem? Why if it was legal? Not to mention, as a patient under Section 4, she should receive immunity from arrest, prosecution, or penalty of any kind, including licensure. All right, so that's one classic area. To the lawyers that may or may not be aware of this, to the lawyers, you can help explain this a little bit, but the DLAD, the privilege of getting a driver's license or restoring your driving privileges, is still not, moved in any particular way, acknowledging the medical use of cannabis, and they'll deny you for it, deny you your reinstatement of it, despite Section 4 protections. Am I right?
I want to appeal on this issue.
What?
Do you really?
Yes, I did.
What'd you say? You wanted to
from DLAD to their you're in Court of Appeals now?
No, Circuit Court.
Okay.
What are you saying? You're saying that this happened in the DLAD, like I said, and you appealed it to the Circuit Court, and the Circuit Court reversed them and granted the license?
Correct.
Which is right, the only way to do it. In other words, the agency itself is not acknowledging this. Like, you have to do something above and beyond the threshold of proof that the agency that's operating under state law, right, that is purportedly supposed to follow state law of immunity. Like, that's the issue, right? I understand that they wanted some higher scrutiny of proof, some threshold higher than what just having a card should do, but it doesn't mean that they should be able to do that when that's not really what the law is. What court were you in, David, that you prevailed?
I prevailed in the Lenawee County Circuit Court, and I also prevailed on this issue in the Oakland County Circuit Court with Judge Chabot.
Who was your circuit court judge in Lenawee?
Chabot. I'm blanking out. He was brand new judge in Lenawee. He's there now. He's one of the two circuit court judges, but I'm blanking out on the name. But the one in Oakland County was a really good set of facts where the guy was currently undergoing chemotherapy treatment at the time and needed to drive to his chemo treatments, to all his doctor visits. And it was such a good set of facts, and the judge ruled on my side.
So it was a need to drive. It wasn't a need to drive. It was a need to drive argument. It wasn't so much that whether a patient to use it medically, and therefore.
Well, the ruling was Section 4 immunity. But I just think I had a good set of facts for that judge to be like, this is bullshit that you denied him for using medical cannabis while he's undergoing chemotherapy treatments, and you're not letting him drive to see doctors.
Right, but that's fine. Those are good facts, and I'm sure you did a fantastic job of extrapolating those and articulating them to the judge. But we would agree that the card itself, patient status under state law, would prevent a ruling of any kind from granting a license because you are a medical marijuana patient. And they shouldn't. Well, anyways. Charlotte, have you experienced this at all?
I don't do D-Lab
Fine.
stuff.
Alan, what do you say? Jeff? We're going to come back to you on a topic that you're more experienced on. Alan, do you have any comments? Or Jeff, you know what I'm talking about?
D-Lad?
Whatever.
I'm retired. I'm
okay,
just a
fine.
counsel.
All right, no one else is helping. Jeff, you got any comments on that?
I'm unaware of anybody being able to have their license reinstated.
David Rudoi's client is one.
No. But I would say that the hearing officers are changing their tune slowly but surely. There's a new hearing officer down there named Kolakowski who used to work for Pat Barone. And his view of the law is if they say they're medical marijuana patients, it warrants, he'll ask some questions to make sure that they're not abusing it. So they could essentially eradicate their immunity if they admit during that interview that they're driving under the influence. So he'll ask more questions, but he try and see if they're operating outside of Section 4. I think that's a pretty good view for somebody who is granting people their licenses back who have lost it for controlled substance related reasons.
It's better
He's a
than
very good hearing officer.
It's better than the way they're doing it now, but I would ask you, based on are they making that decision? What's too much to drive for? You know what I mean? I really want to say to you that they whatever, if anyone said, well, I would have let them use their medical marijuana, but when I talked to them and asked them questions, they told me this, that, and this, I concluded that that's unless someone's admitting like, oh yeah, I drive and smoke joints and, you know.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's looking for.
Okay.
Is this person, exhibiting behavior that would be make them a danger to other people on the road?
Right. My experience has been that they're going to want to. I mean, and I don't think one should have to do this, but I think that another area that you can overcome this burden is by making the case with the doctor's, recommendation, and they can, to the extent possible, they're willing to go, would be another way to carry the ball and prevail. Right, so
you can just sue them, right?
What are the other? So I don't know if we want to turn with this. That the fact that it remains Schedule 1 is obviously unreconcilable.
For how long? I mean, because I'm certain I heard Joe Biden and Chuck.
Let's talk about that. Wait, hold on. Jamie, I want to hear the context by which the John Sinclair case, I think there was some legislation that was being passed around. They were going to try to come up with a legislative solution or something like that. I don't know if I'm preaching any secrets. Let me know.
Yeah. I'll go over that real quick. Just some additional stuff to that the conversation that we've had on here before and about the case, stuff like that. But I was wondering if something's as the MORE Act were to pass and the federal government, took it off the schedule. And Michigan still had it on the schedule. Is that a scenario in which we are being more restrictive than federal law, or is that a case where we've cut ties with, any federal interference, and that's how we're choosing to do it, so to speak? So there's not necessarily a conflict.
It's funny because a lot of the language associated in the public health code, and this language is in the Fiesel case as well, where they're basically the court, the Supreme Court of Michigan, the Fiesel case is exclaiming how they're supposed to. I don't know what rule they're referring to. We're supposed to violate the states' rights, and we're supposed to do what the federal government views the Controlled Substances Act, something to that effect. Like that's a driving force. But in that case, they say, well, there's no carboxy-THC as a controlled substance. So as we look to the authority of the federal government in this area, it's a good question. I mean, I would think that. All the Controlled Substances Act and the Public Health Code are intended to be mirror images of each other for all purposes. I mean, they didn't come up with the scheduling of drugs themselves. The state, they may have added some of their own, but most of them are promulgated and become amendments after the federal government has added them to the list. Jeff, would you agree with that? I mean, correct me or enlighten us otherwise.
Yeah, I think it would be controlled by whether or not Congress, U.S. Congress, by removing marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances Act, intended to occupy the field. You know how the federal government can't force state governments to enforce federal law. I think probably, the Controlled Substances Act itself says that Congress isn't trying to preempt the field. So I think that you could still have states that kept marijuana on the Controlled Substances list. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I think that's probably how it's going to have to be, at least at first. But I think that if we can get the federal government completely out of the business of enforcing laws surrounding marijuana, it is a good thing.
We've been joined by Allie McCormick, attorney extraordinaire. She should be resting. Nevertheless, welcome, Allie. How's things going over there?
Pretty good. Kind of got bored with my puzzle, so I figured I would drop in and say hello for a minute.
We're just a little better than the puzzle once you're bored of it.
Wow, she's really bored. Wow. Nothing on Netflix. She's seen every Netflix. It's over. Like, there's no, Just kidding.
Hey, for 2 days, it's a 1,000-piece puzzle. I'm probably like 3/4 of the way done.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Fun times.
So we're talking about the driving thing a little bit there. So anyways, we talked about the Controlled Substance Schedule 1 issue. Jamie, did you get a chance to explain what I was originally going?
I just wanted to notice after talking about this recently that there are just a lot of people that, and as you suggested, we do need to talk about it more, who don't understand what the deal is with cannabis remaining on the list and what it is connected to and what the implications are and how just completely irrational and contradictory it is, and how frustratingly nobody's really, at least legislatively, which is one of the ways it can be done, is getting it, is resolving it. But there's been a few issues along the way with that. For example, when trying to approach the LSB, the Legislative Services Bureau, who write the language for a bill being introduced, is saying that it's relied on to remain there as part of like the regulatory scheme, and it would just disrupt things if you took it off, and
makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Or not.
It doesn't.
So anyway, so now a lot of people also do not continue to know that after the MMA passed and medical use is recognized, and it was at that point directly in conflict with cannabis being a Schedule 1. The fix was not to resolve it head on. It was to be additionally irrational and create an additional conflict and concurrently, simultaneously place it on Schedule 2 with the caveat of when being used medically. So
that's interesting. I mean, it's a good historical point to bring back because you're talking about Senate Bill 660, which has this caveat of if and when the federal government approves of it and or some other approval of the state, it'll become Schedule 2 for these purposes.
No, I think that.
But no. I was going to say that's it's actually being interpreted. In the John Sinclair case, our Court of Claims Justice suggested that for recreational, right now it's Schedule 1, and for medical it's Schedule 2 per the Public Health Code. So she's right. So it creates this additional.
For it to be Schedule 1 would be arbitrary and capricious.
What's that?
For it to be Schedule 1 in the state of Michigan, and for us to have a Michigan Medical Marijuana Act, that's
well, it wasn't that way until several years later.
Right.
And but how can it remain a Schedule 1 and be a Schedule 2? Those two things.
Well, it can't.
Cannot.
So I wanted to wrap this up a little bit based on that, and then we can talk about the other areas of it. But just to get a couple points out.
The Jamie view.
So they're after part of the 3 sessions ago. I mean, meaning this being the beginning of another session where it has been resolved, and all through the last 2 years of the last session, this was kind of being worked on and legislatively, and but the challenge to the LSB for saying that we can't take it off. I mean, never happened. And just kind of rolling with it and then coming up with these different ways of trying to just do something. Resulted in some language finally by the end of the session. And but it was, in my opinion, kind of akin to that same move of simultaneously putting it on Schedule 2 and saying when being used medically, because it were things like Schedule 1 unless following the.
It doesn't have any medical purpose unless it does.
Or something like that, Well, none of it makes sense, and they're so reluctant just to take it off, and that's the only possible logical solution. It is indefensible to argue that it stay on there. If there is some area in law, if there is some disruption in the regulatory scheme, then that can otherwise be addressed. There's nothing that prevents that from happening.
Do you think they've hyperinflated?
Lawmaker's job. But it cannot stay there. There's no justification for it to stay. I don't need to tell you guys that, but I'm sorry.
Do you think there's a hyper?
Amen.
Do you think there's a hyper concern that's being made about disrupting the public health code? Do you think there's an underplay of the fact that a ballot initiative forced this issue to be done, and that should carry the day versus the disruption? Jamie?
Well, you're suggesting like the reasoning why logic is just being ignored?
Well, I mean, I don't know that that's an excuse to use. When you have a ballot initiative that and pass a law that the legislature didn't do, it's probably going to disrupt things.
Right.
I mean,
that's the whole fucking point.
Yeah, you don't break the law, change the law because it's not right. So that idea is silly. Second of all, what exactly is so disruptive? I mean, they could.
I don't know. I have actually asked without that question being answered.
Shiler, what do you say? What's your answer, Shiler?
As to the contradiction with something being legalized while maintaining a public health code that declares it to be a Schedule 1 controlled substance.
And put this in there too. And it's also listed as Schedule 2 at the same time as listed as Schedule 1. You understand Schedule 2 for medical purposes and limited blah, blah. And at the same time, it has no medical value, and therefore...
That's the conflict. That's the conflict.
Yeah. What about it? You got any comments, or are you just going to sit there and pretend like some federalist didn't make shit up? So you're going to pretend that?
It seems like a conflict to me. What do you want me to say?
It has no medical use except when it does.
Yes, Jim. That's precisely it.
Defend the federalist that wrote this. Defend them. Tell me how they get here.
No, the thing is, it was written by the people.
Oh,
and it's
this part was not written.
Expansively viewed that initiative language.
No, this part wasn't written by the people. This part
effectively based it coming off of by the MMFLA, which was a
this was written. Who wrote SB 660? Who sponsored that
Jones,
piece of shit?
The people who want to grow in the copper mine, the Canadian company.
Right. But who was the cardiologist that sponsored it? Remember, the doctor, Khan.
Yes.
Senator
yes.
Khan.
Oh, yeah.
He was the one that wrote it. That was his brainchild. So we've got him
Khan,
to thank for that one.
What's the matter with that name, Khan?
Senator Khan.
Khan.
He did not like marijuana either at all.
He was a doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
So how good of a doctor was he?
Well, I can't speak to that. I mean, he didn't look terribly healthy to me. So I mean, I don't know if that's a gauge.
But what did he see as a doctor that was so bad about cannabis or marijuana that made him hate it, Jim?
I don't know.
That's what I'd like to know. I'd like to sit down face to face with him, look him right in the eye and say, what was it about this plant that made you hate it so much? And I bet you he can't give you one iota of any kind of a reasonable explanation.
No.
It may simply be that the people did it. Pass the law. That could be it. You know what I mean? All right, listen. I don't know if we're ready to move on. Did anyone want to
I just want to mention on the descheduling, rescheduling, whatever we call it.
Yep.
That with all this craziness
right.
over the last 24 hours, I think the one thing that people have missed, and that should be being paid attention to, is the fact that the Democrats now control the U.S. Senate.
Nathan got it.
And
They control everything.
Right, and if we recall, there was a bunch of promises made about how we were going to decriminalize marijuana, and all of this was going to happen if the Senate became controlled by the Dems.
Hold
and
on.
sure as shit,
Hold
here
on.
we are.
I know.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer
Chuck
said that.
Schumer.
Stop
Chuck
for 1
Schumer.
second. Stop for 1
Senate
second.
Majority Leader.
That's right.
Stop for 1 second. That may be fake news. I have a question.
No, he said it. He tweeted it.
I see that, and I have the article right here. But I want to know: did Biden ever say that? Did he adopt that as his platform? Do we know that
Is Biden going to pocket veto it or something?
Maybe.
What I'm suggesting is
Dems
that
like their pocket veto.
Yes.
I'm suggesting that in the vein of the other topic we're going to transition to, which is pocket vetoing the expungement of drunk driving.
Pocket
God.
veto.
I'm saying to
You're
you
gonna
that
stir me
the
up tonight.
appeal to do that Whitmer did draws out the Biden and the Biden. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, maybe.
you can take Joe Biden out of the crime bill, but you can't take the crime bill out of Joe Biden. You know, and his appeal to return to normalcy, and his appeal to the law enforcement and dropping the defund and end asset forfeiture and like that is
What
not
all the
in
shit
his,
that he said that it's the new Joe Biden. So what we're going to have here is a good opportunity for President Joe Biden to prove that he's not completely full of shit. And we'll see. Just like we're gonna see. We're gonna see if Chuck Schumer's full of shit too.
I'm not going to listen. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this.
Yes, we
I'm
are.
not going to defend Joe Biden or support him either way. He has not said, and I don't anticipate that he's going to champion that cause. Does anyone want to?
He has been quoted as saying he supports the decriminalization of marijuana. So my expectation, President Biden,
is that a priority?
If a bill shows up on your fucking desk that does just that you sign it. That's the expectation.
That would be the expectation, I think, by most people.
And maybe
they've already passed the MORE Act, so the Senate just needs to.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, man.
Sign it. Vote on it.
You can probably do this in like 2 weeks.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
absolutely.
Congress would have to pass it again, wouldn't they? Because it's a new session.
It's new
Yeah,
session.
but you just throw it back in the sausage maker.
Jamie's keeping me honest.
Easy peasy, easy peasy.
I think you were right, Starley, a few weeks ago when you were talking about that it had to be an act of Congress, though, to take it off the schedule, and that maybe executively they could make it lowest level priority and that type of stuff, but to actually take it off the schedule requires an act of Congress, which now might be possible.
I wonder if they can really do that in this path. I think that the DEA is more powerful than the Congress. Someone debate me on that. Jeff?
Well, a judge called them scientists in a recent opinion.
The DEA?
Yeah. He said they're the scientists, aren't they the ones we're supposed to turn to for these answers, and threw it back to the DEA. What was that opinion just came out? There's something. Maybe it wasn't recent.
It was reporting on stuff that he had said in the past about the issue.
Oh, that's right. That was the new AG pick by Biden.
Oh yeah, he's terrible.
That was one of his rulings, was kicking it back.
Yeah, we just said that Garrett Marlin, what's his name?
Yeah.
Garrett Morris, what's his name? Just kidding.
Garrett Morris.
I mean, we could be up for. I mean, everybody's thinking, everything's gonna be scot-free with marijuana, and we could be up for crime bill number 2.
First of all, let me explain something about this AG. Here's some weird things about it. Number one is, politically speaking, he was appointed by Obama to become a Supreme Court justice, and he's the one that did not get the right. Is that what happened?
Is that the guy?
That's the guy. Someone correct me on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's correct.
So he's a federal judge. What's the most powerful position you can have in the United States if you're going to be in government?
federal
Article
judge.
3 judge. Is that what you said?
Federal judge, right? A federal judge. There's no other
They
power.
are the law.
There's no other more awesome. It's just life appointment. You can't get taken out. There's no elections. Fucking lots of money, lots of benefits. You know, there's no age requirement to retire.
All the good parties.
All right.
A lot of chicks.
So this guy gives this up. He
hookers.
gives this up. He gives it up to become the AG. Why? What kind of egomaniac does that?
Who? We're talking about.
Maybe he saw how much fun
Our
Bill
state,
Barr
our
was
U.S.
having.
Our U.S.
Oh,
attorney.
yeah.
He left the federal judge thing. He was in line. He could have.
Maybe he
He,
just
probably
wants-
could have. Well, I guess he's not gonna. there's
He
not gonna
wants
be an
to hang
opening.
out with Joe Biden,
He probably
man.
saw how much fun Bill Barr was having coming back to that post and working for Trump that he decided he wanted to give it a go.
Jeff, what do you say about that, Jeff Frazier?
Attorney General is, you know,
The
police,
general. Yeah.
the most powerful person in the country.
Jeff has always said that.
If the rule of law falls apart, if the pen remains mightier than the sword, Jeff Frazier.
Well, and you hear people throwing around the word insurrection on both sides, but particularly on the Dem side. You know, it's relevant because it's constitutionally permitted to send the militia, send the feds after people in case of insurrection. So keep an eye on these guys.
Make sure I don't get any.
Which guy is the general?
Whoever's in power, president, the attorney general.
Yeah, we can't have standing military in our. Right? They can't call in the military and U.S. troops.
No, not yet.
Jeff?
But
No, Posse Comitatus Act, the whole 9 yards. You don't want to be crazy. Now's the time to keep our eye on the ball. You don't want to have Biden or Merrick Garland or any AG or president to be calling up the military for use as a domestic police force.
How could this make any sense if Joe Biden picks the former federal judge that sided with the scientists at the DEA that it remains Schedule 1 as his leading law enforcement person, and at the same time suggests that the path to legalization or unscheduling it is within our future? Those things are kind of difficult to reconcile. I wonder if, as the new AG, he's going to recuse himself on these issues. Just kidding. Isn't that funny?
No, I think that they'll probably say, you know, let's do some serious reform and place it on Schedule 2.
Yeah, let's make it Schedule 2 so we can study it. Right?
That's and that's probably what's going to happen.
It's horrible. What they should do is just get out of the marijuana business. Just completely get out of it and leave it up to the states. Let
They
the states
just
figure it
can't
out.
get their hands off it, though, Jim.
They got to.
Wow, what does Senate Bill 660 look like when they make it Schedule 2 federally?
Oh, who gives
Let's
a
talk about
shit?
that. That's fun, isn't it?
Who gives a shit?
What do you mean?
660
What do you mean? I think you can
is
petition
dead.
the court. Those people can come back and cash in their chits.
Whatever.
Grow their marijuana in the caves in the up north or something.
Once the industry is established here, no fucking way.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do?
Prairie Farms. Prairie Farms may beg to differ.
Maybe they will.
It creates a parallel system that's not going to be very competitive.
Right, exactly. The established system, unless they're able to come out in and do it cheaper for better with better quality, then whatever. That's what the free market's all about. But at the end of the day, they're not going to have the advantages that they thought they were going to have.
It was originally just medical too. I'm not sure what it was at the end of the.
It's just medical. It's always only been medical.
It's what they call pharmaceutical grade.
Yep. But I mean that law, and I'm certain this is what would happen, is that the administration could just implement rules that would make it impossible to operate, and they would just bury it.
Or they don't.
No.
They do what they said they're going to do, and sure enough, we've got a new third market out there. That's what will become known as caveman weed or something
You
like
want
that.
some caveman weed, and you can go get some caveman.
That's a good marketing play. I think you could do that. Cave person.
Smoke like a caveman.
Cave parent.
There you
Cave
go.
parent weed. What they have to call it?
That's fine, actually.
Whatever.
Not cave mom or
They can have more
dad.
choices.
No, you can't.
Let me ask you. Let's go around the room here. Who cares about the? Who cares or doesn't care about the? Our U.S. Congress. I think it's in their administrative rules, or rules of Robert's procedure of kindness and administration of justice. They've outlawed the use of certain words and references. This is a millennial thing, I think. But let's go through them. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Jim, why don't you explain it? Jeff, do you know what I'm talking
I'm
about?
not touching this one with a
But just
fucking-
explain what I'm talking about, because I don't know if people fully understand.
I
The,
don't know if we should tell.
Was administrative rules and the Robert's rules of the...
there's currently a push to use what they call inclusive wording when it comes to certain things that all of us end up having access to. When we talk about inclusive words, we talk about words that don't associate gender, those sorts of things. And what Michael is talking about is this being codified within our government. And what I was sharing with Michael earlier is that in the corporate world, this has already been going on for a very long time. And that there's this idea that we should call people what they want to be called. So there's been an enormous push in corporate America to be able to identify what pronouns people would like to identify with, and then to make every opportunity to call them by that. And that includes ones that have no gender affiliation, like they or them. Is that good for you, Michael?
No, because you didn't really explain what I thought it passed. I thought they passed law that said you cannot can't refer to anyone as a he or she, can't use the term mom or dad.
Oh.
And I don't know, I'm just wondering.
Maybe they did.
I thought I saw something about that.
I don't know. I'm saying this is. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Amanda. Go ahead.
No, I thought I saw some article that I came across that was talking about that. That was it.
Well, I don't know whether it's occurred to change the law. I think it's an interesting dynamic. It's one of the. It's a topic, an issue that is in the forefront.
Yeah.
I'm not. And it's. I mean, it's gotten to the point where. So Jim, you're observing it in the corporate context. It seems as if that's different than the government legislated. It's kind of a policy within the corporation or whatnot. How's it playing out? I mean, it
doesn't change anything. It just. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're genuinely a nice person and treat others with respect, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, but if you make a mistake and call someone mother, call them a mother.
Most people are not. It doesn't upset them, and they'll just correct you. It's not a big deal, as long as you don't take it as a big deal when you get corrected. But
right.
It's just about respecting the people around you. And I mean, whatever, you can agree with it. You don't have to agree with it, but at the end of the day, most corporations have made a decision that their policy is going to be there will be respect for that identification, and that the policy will be that employees of that corporation will respect it.
Well, that is not an issue. I mean, I think it's actually ridiculous that you have to compel someone to be respectful of the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking more or less of
the fact that you can't use them.
Outlawing specific words.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean,
because it's almost like there are people that may still want to be called mother.
Sure.
Right.
But they can't be now. They have to be called parent. Just as an example. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, you're giving up woman and man,
right.
woman and man.
But
so people, I don't know.
It's all temporary, right? This is.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just discussing in the context of. Well, first of all, it's a weird that's. I mean, there may be a tremendous amount of this that goes on in government where there's gender issues, there's actual biases, and people are being bullied and having terrible experiences that are not warranted. It shouldn't be. I don't think that's a thing. And there has to be some protections. I understand that, and I guess corporations and workplaces one of the ways to instill that. And I think I don't know. So I don't have an. I think, listen, when you start playing around with words and stuff.
I think Jim had it right. And if you.
No, I know that's a way to deal with it.
Consciously in and about your day and dealing with people and talking to people, and you really make a conscious effort to speak with everybody you talk to with dignity and respect, these issues don't even come up.
No.
And if they do, it's like Jim said, if you refer to them in the wrong pronoun or something, and that person corrects you, and then respectfully back, okay, I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's all about having just common decency and respect amongst people, and God, we've gotten away from that.
I'm saying, though, Steve, the difference of a policy of you must respect the other person's, whatever you want them to be called, whatever they want to be called, versus we're not allowed to use this word.
Right.
We're not allowed to. That's all the only distinction I was making.
But there is a time and place for those sorts of things, and I think maybe the law is one of them. I don't know. I know that, we were talking about, things like documentation and certain phrases that are used in the technical world. I was talking to Dan about
We
this.
got to quit making stuff into law.
Yeah.
Hold on.
But
of the lawyers that are here, including Jeff Frazier and David Rudoi, did he bail? Alan. It was in law. I mean, as law school became a regular habit of mine because it was taught in this manner that, the reasonable person, the judge, was always a she. There's an emphasis on identifying the unknown character as a female in my education years and after college, I would say, like that whole the 90s, late, early 90s. You know what I'm saying? Where the reference to, whatever just the vague reference would be to she, and at times it seemed kind of out of context because you're so used to the normal. I mean,
You're telling me that you were taught learned hands, reasonable person was a she?
Yes.
No penis.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Have you ever met a reasonable person with a penis?
That's a no. What is it? That's the formula. No P or whatever. Ah, shoot.
All right, listen. So, did anyone want to get? I don't know. The whole thing about. All right. So listen. That's an interesting.
We gotta move on.
Hold
to
on.
the next
Let's
topic.
move on to the next topic. I know because but there was.
And we're gonna have to take a break.
All right. So, what's the chances of this going through? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's all party line stuff? Do you think there are people in? I mean, like for example, do we know the Reverend and what's his face in Georgia are going to be?
I think it's a done deal if you fucking don't have Mitch McConnell in charge of the Senate. You got Chuck Schumer. All he's got to do is call the bill. Call the bill, Chuck. That's all you got to do, dude.
Okay, but I'm saying, do you think that this is automatic that every single Democratic senator?
No, but I think that there's going to be Dems that are going to vote for it, and I think there's going to be Republicans that are going to vote for it. And it's the majority of them will be Dems, but there will be Republicans, just like there were in the House, and it will be enough to pass.
I think Jim's right.
But you got to call the bill.
Got to call it.
Biden's got to sign it.
Yeah, and then Biden's got to sign it. That's right.
He can't pocket that.
That's what I'm saying. We're gonna see in pretty short order. Is this a priority, or are you guys just giving us lip service?
We'll see. We will see,
shall
and then
see.
and then they will see in the midterms.
That's right. They will.
We should ask Stacey Abrams what she thinks.
Interesting. All right, here we go. The next topic we didn't get to is the Whitmer used the pocket veto bill to allow the expungement.
veto. Yeah.
All right. So
Pocket veto.
it's interesting because Michigan.
What is a pocket veto, Michael? I don't understand.
Pretty snazzy.
That's a do
It's
nothing.
snazzy.
Yeah.
It sounds cute. Like, oh, it's in my pocket.
Yeah, pocket.
She didn't sign it, and she didn't reject it.
Well, that doesn't sound
Put it in her
cute.
pocket, and it stays there for a certain period of time until.
She washes her pants.
Until when? What's the timeline until it doesn't? It expires. Anyways.
Does she turn into a pumpkin?
So listen, it's very interesting. I'll tell you. So we were
No
talking
pumpkin
about this a little bit. We're not taking a break. We're going through. Here we
No,
go.
we're just going to go through.
Okay, fine.
Fuck it.
So we talked about Eli Savitt a little bit, the Washtenaw County prosecutor who is.
No bond.
Did we talk about this already?
No.
Are we not talking about Whitmer?
We are. I'm talking about this idea of criminal justice reform is in the air.
Nice.
That Michigan recently passed the really progressive, that may be considered a bad word, but really advanced expungement laws relative to time frames and the number of expungements.
Includes more crimes.
And there's been a movement, I'm telling you, as I practiced law for 28 years, the first 20 of them, the expungement law was the same. You know what I mean? It was the same all the time. Like you had to have nothing, and maybe one misdemeanor could get you an expungement or one. Then they moved it to, and then now we're at this,
Then you
it's
got
been
the
pretty
combo,
phenomenal over 8
like the
years.
burger and
Last 8
fries.
years. So there's a thing in this direction. We have serious artifacts that support the need for it. The governor's own, prison overcrowding report that Cheetah has, and that talks about all the problems of too many convictions, too many probations, too long of probations, and
Plus,
not
we know
enough.
that most people don't belong in jail.
Most people don't belong in jail. It's the system that ends up being the most violative thing that they do sometimes, by not paying or not coming and, and warrants being issued that suspend people's license, that subject them to arrest and jailing and all that stuff. So that's
It's a
from
hard
her.
hole to get out of.
That's right. That's from her own report, and then the other one, of course, is the crime funding bill report, which says the district courts are broken and they are so biased that they need money from the litigants to be able to pay their bills. So there's substantive reasons by their own government studies that there should be not just talk but actual action about criminal justice reform. And one of the ways to do that is to expunge people's records.
Right.
Although we don't really have the same it didn't happen the way that we really wanted it to, and it's still limited. But nevertheless, the this thing about the drunk drive is interesting because, as we discussed, it got to her desk. The bipartisanship of the legislature gridlock all of a sudden came through.
Yep.
And they came to the idea here. It's interesting.
And there
like,
was great press about the bill. Great press about it. Really, widespread support for it.
well, obviously, because
Bipartisan.
it's interesting. I think it's almost as if
It's as if
people are more
police
forgiving of
and
alcohol offenses. I think to a certain degree. I think because more,
Yeah.
I think especially the legislature may even they can understand that.
But this is an example of the police and the
Okay, all right.
prosecutors are viewed as stakeholders in
Well,
this political
that's one
system,
problem.
and they should not be.
That's one problem.
They shouldn't be at the table.
The other problem is that you have one of the most powerful lobbying organizations out there, which is Mothers Against Drunk Driving, that are knocking on these people's doors and saying, you
That is
can't
true.
do this. You can't do this. And I appreciate the position that she's put in because it could be very bad optics. But at the end of the day,
MAD is a
at the end of the
strong
day,
organization.
Michael, out of all the DUI cases that you've represented over the years, what percentage would you say are first-time offenders?
A lot.
And is it fair that because of one bad decision that they're excluded from the ability to have their record cleansed?
No.
There's no question about it. It doesn't. First of all, most of the drunk drivings are in fact first and only offenses. Like the people that I'm saying this. The people that get pulled into this meat machine meat grinder is. You're coming home from the opening day baseball game, you had a couple extra beers, or you're out, I'm not justified it, but it's something where you find yourself in a situation, uniquely wedding, none of that's good, I'm not saying, but it's not usually the traditional alcoholic that has a real issue with alcohol. But by virtue of getting charged with and blowing into a machine and getting arrested, you have a problem. And that's the way they go about addressing it. And it's more about whether you have discipline versus whether you have a real issue or not, But anyways, Shiloh, has that been your experience? We have clients who've had more than one, but I think there's I think in order to make the system go around, part of the marketing plan is that we caught you this one time, but what about all the other times you were driving drunk and didn't get caught, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of
I
like
heard
that.
a judge say that.
Oh, he did, right? You guys heard about that, right? Chandler, Jamie, lawyers, Jeff said, Judge, why would you set a bond? He was here. The case got dismissed. They reissued it. He had a personal bond. Well, counsel, he's got blah blah prior convictions. I said, well, that last one was 2008, 2021. He says, well, what about all the times between then and now
that he hasn't
that he
gotten
was
caught?
drinking and driving and didn't get caught? So
I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time from a lot of city attorneys. Not necessarily. I think the prosecutors know a little bit better to say that, but
okay,
a lot of city attorneys say that.
A prosecutor can believe that.
A judge should definitely not be saying that.
Because
I
why?
don't know how a judge would say that. I don't think I've ever heard myself a judge say that.
Do you know why? Because as I took counsel from other lawyers, judges on
They went
this
to
topic,
judge school to keep their mouth shut.
I said this. when you say that to me, what am I supposed to do? You're telling me you're going to tell me that you're going to use. So here we go. Let's talk. Let's break this down a little.
That you don't know happened against my client.
Here we go. So it's either one. You have a personal relationship with my client because you must have been at his house when he came home drunk and driving, and he didn't get caught, and you know about it. And nobody else knows about it because he wasn't charged. You must have that, and therefore you should get off the case. Or you're presuming he's guilty, and you're telling him he's not going to get a fair shake.
Police science mentality.
Listen.
That they can predict.
I don't know how someone could say that they're going to be fair in a case.
Well, they're not. I mean, and that whole system.
What am I supposed to do? I didn't ask for this.
Well,
it's a fucking rearrangement.
We did what we're supposed to do. It's going through. Going to be an embarrassment possibly for that judge.
Wow, who needs all this service? Anyway, so the reasons why, Steve, Jim, Amanda. The reasons why this Governor Whitmer stuffed it in her pocket is, Jim says it's because
Mad
is so powerful in the cops, right?
I mean, what
difference does it make to the cops? They have more money if it's a second offense.
Yes, that's exactly the difference, and they
You know what?
and they truly believe that people like that all this rhetoric that you are all espousing, they believe this shit. So of course, and at the end of the day, if you look at it from her perspective, there's no upside to it for her. I mean, she's going to have law enforcement pissed at her. Maybe she would deal with that, but then she's going to have the families of people that have been hurt and killed in drunk driving accidents that are in the media talking about how she's soft on crime and doesn't care. Like, that's why. That's why.
Let me explain something to you. Let's talk about this. If someone has a first-time drunk driving offense, they've pled guilty, it's 10 years ago, you know, they blew a 1.2 or something like that, 1.5, which is probably how you're coming up from a wedding. And, you know, they made it through probation, no issues. Yep. They have had no other offenses. And they probably went in there and they probably pled it down to an impaired driving from an OWI. They didn't lose their license. They were restricted for a period of time. They made it through probation. They're done. You know, you're going to know within a certain period of time if it's a reoccurring issue from that incident. Like, it's going to, if they're really drunk and they got a problem, it's good. All right, that's number one. Yeah. Number two is if you do expunge the record, what do they lose? If they're doing their job and someone's out drinking and driving, they're going to find them and they're going to be obvious, right? They're going to, you know, I mean, I guess in the difference of somebody.
Yeah, that's the law enforcement piece. That doesn't address the mad piece.
The law enforcement piece is this, and I know this from the training that we did. Allie was there. She left. She hopped off. Good. The when we got our training certification field sobriety testing. The first half of the.
Did they make Allie walk the line? They did, didn't they? I knew it.
No, we didn't. We didn't get. We did not drink. David invited people back to his house for that later on, I think. But the training, Steve, you correct me if I'm wrong. The training, the first part of it is a real brainwashing of the amount of carnage that's on the streets. Do you understand? So the idea is that you must instill in the idea in the eyes and brain of the patrol officers that there are people out there killing people. Mm-hmm. And unless you know this and aggressively pursue them, they will continue to kill people, and it will be your fault.
Right.
Let me show you the statistics. None of it, you know, it's all.
And I just want to mention that none of us believe that drinking and driving is an acceptable practice. And this discussion, 100%. I want it to make sure it's predicated that we believe that people should not drink and drive, and that we recognize that it does kill people. Correct. And we don't. But
someone with a 0.0 alcohol level who is a regular drinker may not actually be a threat to the world.
Correct.
Someone who has had a drink or two, maybe a wine, someone is driving and has it on their breath and fails some sobriety tests could get yielded, you know, could get pulled into a case and have to defend themselves.
And most people don't know that you can
not because they're drunk, because they failed sobriety test, and they made the evidence of there's a way to get sucked into it.
And you don't have to blow a .08 to be charged with a crime. They have to, think you might be a little impacted.
For the marijuana, the marijuana. I mean, not the new.
Well, no, I'm even talking. Isn't alcohol the same way? That if they say that you can
blow a .08, .7, 6'5", and if they were driving badly,
you were driving in a shitty way, so you must be.
You'll never get a prosecutor hardly ever, if at all, to charge it.
Yeah.
But
But
they like the number.
Yeah.
But if
Like
they have alcohol and you're on any other medication, then they don't need the number.
No.
A low number and some other kind of medications that don't have a number.
No, they don't.
Because
need the
one of the
number.
crimes for driving offenses includes, or the combination thereof.
Yeah.
So you don't need the number. It could be like a point.
Yeah.
02 in a, some
People always like to cut it
Vicodin or
that
some
way.
We talk more about the
what?
Cash bail.
Yeah.
Cash bail.
So first time drunken driving, expungement should be allowed. Whitmer,
we don't
sign the damn
We
bill.
don't
Thank you.
understand what the pocket veto in this case.
I mean, listen, so
We just don't understand
just to
it.
give the police the benefit of the doubt, I think that they're duty bound based on their training to identify these people as potential killers, and not give them any breaks. I'm saying that's the only way. That's the influence of it, and you got the combination of that.
And that's
I
the
mean,
mindset.
Yeah, and I
the
agree with
officers,
Jim.
And,
yeah.
you have officers out there that, if they come across a drunk, they're going to arrest them. You got some really over-the-top officers that's what they like to do. They like to be. There's probably a couple of them in every department. They like to be the OWI guys. They want to get the drunk drivers. So come 11 o'clock at night, don't even call those guys for a dispatched radio complaint, because they're searching for the drunks on the road. And then you got a group of officers that don't want anything to do with them at all because they are so much paperwork, and drunks are a pain in the ass to deal with.
It's an interesting phenomena, and I think it's drinking at all is not great for anyone health-wise, and of course the driving aspect causes all kinds of issues. But what do you think about this? There's such an emphasis in the policing of it, right? Like it's legal, but you got to watch the roads.
It's been huge. It was
huge.
The time I entered, probably before that, and then up until today.
And so much money's invested into the training, the equipment, streamlining it, in every step of the way in the evolution of this. Now they got the doctors and at the hospitals are drawing blood, and they actually have they can, the statute, they got them right, the police got the statute written so you can have an EMS person draw blood at the police station or in the ambulance or whatnot. So, they're just...
Or in the jail.
Right, they're streamlining
When did that
all
happen?
of this.
Because we didn't have any of that when we had to take them to the hospital.
No, I know, but so there's these variations of ways that they can...
It could be worse. In Nevada, I believe, they don't even need a warrant to get your blood. They just strap your ass down.
And there's states with that allow checkpoints.
Yep.
State of Hawaii, where I lived at one point in time, they allowed checkpoints, and that's how my motorcycle that got stolen they found it on a drunk driving checkpoint.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Does that mean you're in favor of checkpoints?
In that case, I certainly was. Maybe that's a good way to find stolen vehicles.
The rule of
if
law,
that's the
Steve
case,
Miller.
then why don't we should hold those things to find stolen vehicles? I mean, that's a crime with victim. And that's a big crime.
But that
that's
is
a
not
lot of money crime.
Well, listen, if they weren't putting all their time in to try to get stoned drivers, they could put their energy and money to better investigative tools.
Yes, for auto theft, for God's sakes.
Right.
That is a problem
I
out
know,
there.
but-
the National Insurance Crime Bureau, anyhow, I'm going off topic here, but checkpoints are good to discover stolen vehicles. I'm sure they get a few drunks that way, too.
Oh, they do.
And
not great for your
They're not legal in
constitutional
Michigan.
rights.
And it would be, I'm glad they're not legal in
You know,
Michigan,
the
because they would be, every car they got through that checkpoint smelled like marijuana. That driver going to jail
Charlotte-
for OWI marijuana. All of them.
Charlotte, what's the case? Or
It'd be
Alan's not even here anymore. What's the
It would be
case
ridiculous.
that cites that in Michigan? The judge that I clerked for in law school, Michael Stacy. You remember him? He's a Wayne County judge. He wrote the the circuit court opinion that got, and he said it was unconstitutional, and that remains the law in Michigan. Do you know what I'm talking about, Scheller? No. All right.
I'll find
Federalist.
I'll find
I'm surprised they
I'll say it's like Stoltz
they
or
didn't
something
allow
like
that to fly in
Stotts.
Michigan. I mean, they've allowed everything else to go all Gestapo in Michigan. I'm surprised they didn't allow for checkpoints. And that's
Yeah.
funny that Hawaii is a very liberal state, highly democratic, and they allow checkpoints for OWI. It's a tough on crime Democrats, I guess. They've put these Republicans to shame all these years. These Republicans who try and jump on the backs of Democrats and they're tough on crime. These goddamn Republicans ought to be ashamed of themselves.
All right, cash bail system. Cash bail system.
Cash bail.
Why is it bad?
Well, my thing, I wonder if there's been a study done that shows, because we were talking about the problem with the courts, and the people have lost faith in our district courts because they are self-funding. They rely on the defendants to pay fines and costs. So my inquiry, as we were talking about this the other day, was I wonder how much of the forfeited cash bail that these courts rely on for their as part of their budgets. I guarantee it's
it's
20 to
it's
30%. It could be higher in courts like where my old court, Plymouth District Court, the 35th District Court in Plymouth. I mean, we used to take in a lot of bonds in Canton and people, for suspended, because we would arrest people for driving on suspended or outstanding warrants. And
you'd set the bond at the jail, or there'd be a bond that was set already?
We would set them. It was in policy what our bond was. So driving while license suspended, $500 cash bond. And you'd have people that wouldn't show up to court on those. So I guarantee there's a lot of forfeited cash bond money flowing in a lot of these courts, especially in Wayne and Oakland County, the more populous counties. I bet you it might even be 50% of their budget. Their fund, of their revenue.
Right, because they get them out of the...
What do you think, Schuyler?
Well, Schuyler, first of all, did you know that the police had the authority to set bond and collect revenue via bond? Did you guys keep that money, or did it go to the...
I went to the court.
Courts?
To the court.
What do you say, Schuyler?
I think this issue is going to get more controversial as it is enacted across the country, and I think that we will eventually start delineating between victimless crimes and crimes that have victims.
I think you're right.
I don't think that the cash bail system is great. I have definitely seen it abused. That's for sure.
Oh, totally.
I've had cases where I assert my client's right to a trial, and then he has a cash bond immediately imposed.
Yeah.
I had that happen in one case. That judge is no longer a judge, but. I don't think that
Roseville.
If you're going to have, I'm going to pull a book. I'm going to pull a page out of the book of Trump and compare it to immigration. But if we let these people go, some of them would be low IQ to come back. I'm trying to be offensive.
I see what you're saying, Schuyler, but people driving through Canton on a suspended license shouldn't be having to post $500 cash bond to get out, and they'll spend an entire weekend in jail if they get picked.
Yeah, that was really good.
If they get picked up on a Friday night driving while license suspended in Canton, they don't have the $500 cash to post. They're sitting there all weekend. In the next hour, you have a. Say you have a couple of buddies get drunk and fight, and guy gets charged with the felonious assault, goes after his buddy with a broken beer bottle. That guy could get
more controversial.
You're not letting me finish.
I'm sorry, Steve.
The felony guy, as the on-call detective, I could go in there Friday night, get my whole investigation done, have the whole my warrant request typed up, sent to the Out County prosecutor. I could have that warrant back by 10 a.m. the next morning and have that felony prisoner arraigned, and he get issued a personal bond and be out by Saturday afternoon. My guy who's sitting there for DWLS can't come up with $500, is there till Monday morning arraignments. That is a problem with the system. I mean, that does not make sense. And I saw it happen all the time. It was a regular thing. DWLS prisoners sitting there from Friday night to Monday morning. Holy moly. That was ridiculous. I always thought that was absurd. From the day I entered the damn career field, I was like, really?
As a way to offer maybe
on?
a little bit of an alternative resolution and doing away with cash bond entirely, is we have these extensive pretrial services, and we have cell phones and whatnot. And I understand that everyone might not have a cell phone. I'm not exactly a fan of just surveillance for the sake of surveillance, but I'm sure that if a person has no money, but there's a pretrial services, that we can keep tabs on this person and ensure that they're going to return if they can't just financially afford a small cash bond.
Right, and you're going to tell me you're
just to do away with it completely. I mean, I think that's almost. I'm seeing a lot of. There's a lot of moves to basically eliminate some powers from local courts, and I think that some local judges are probably kind of. I'm not saying that they want the work, but it just seems that a
lot of these judges cause their own problem.
Is that a problem?
But
judges don't have problems.
It just seems that when people have problems with their local judges, it can cause problems. And a good way to keep everything humming along is to try to eliminate some of the public interaction with the local courts. But they still want to get the money somehow. So I don't know. It's a complicated. Cash bond's complicated.
So this is it's an old report and nothing's really been done about it. But and it relates to the whole cash bail thing. So you have to understand, if you got a cash bail thing that requires posting of money to get out, or getting a bondsman, which is a whole other story.
Yeah.
And they do that a lot in Macomb County. But the posting of money. So think about the way the government's hitting here. So you're for the average person that's not running around with a lot of liquid cash to spend on bond, and their license gets suspended, or they don't pay a ticket. They don't pay a parking ticket, and the parking ticket gets sent to the court, and you get a default, and they double the penalty, and they send you a couple notices, and you don't have the money to pay, so now all of a sudden it's $300, and they issue a warrant for your arrest or something like that.
And suspend your license.
And suspend your license. Now you're driving down Telegraph Road between, anywhere from north to south, and you drive through, it's a 4 lanes on each side, and there are police there just waiting to pull somebody over, right?
Yeah, you got started in Dearborn.
You got Dearborn, right, all the way up to Redford. You get up to
like fish in a
Southfield,
barrel. Fish in a barrel.
Bingham Farms, Bloomfield Hills. They're sitting out there like you don't get past. You don't get from Detroit to Pontiac.
No, you get pulled over.
Bloomfield.
You're getting pulled over.
Right. So, and then they pull you over. They get you suspended. They arrest you for the suspension. And they take you over to the court, and because you're you're a vagrant to them. Like to some of the judges in that court. They find out that you've not returned to court, you're not paying your bills, you're an irresponsible loser that can't be trusted. $100,000 case. And you find yourself in the Oakland County Jail holding unit because it's not severe enough to get you into a pod, but you got to stay in the holding unit, which is the worst. And until they bring you over for an arraignment, they bring you over in like the chain gang and put you in there and just, it's like it's sickening over a license.
Oh, it's
you know
terrible.
what I mean? And so this report went then the Legal Aid Justice Center analyzed the driver's license suspension policies of 50 states, and Michigan's were amongst the 5 harshest.
I can imagine.
Well, I mean, remember our driver's responsibility fee?
Yeah, they talk about this lawsuit.
Those suspensions out there.
There's a report driven by dollars, a state-by-state analysis of the driver's license suspension laws for failure to pay court debt. Because a few months after the lawsuit Jim's speaking about, where a separate group sued the state alleging its suspension policies were hurting poor people, and
because they were.
Everybody that we had in our lockup that was DWLS, multiple warrants, all of that, like Michael's speaking of there, were people of a lower socioeconomic status.
Yep. Here's some of the things. The report
And
looked
now
at
back. Here's Michael Camoran with.
Oh, my.
The report looked at various ways that the state suspend driver's license and found that Michigan had restrictions on multiple levels. In Michigan, suspend, you've got to go get reinstated, right? You got to pay money, right? Right? If they suspend, and they don't have the authority to suspend your license. What they do is they abstract the event that goes to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State controls the licensing. But you may need to go back to court to prove that you've returned to court, and then go to the Secretary of State and pay your
reinstatement fee.
That's right. So they're saying that all those things are. The state doesn't take into consideration financial ability to pay the debt in suspending licenses, and suspensions apply to traffic infractions and criminal cases that have nothing to do with driving. That's true also. Like there's all these penalties.
Yeah.
Public health code.
Yeah.
Possession of marijuana walking down the street.
Yeah, I was going to say possession of marijuana used to
You
get
lose your license for what, a year?
Yep, a year.
Just delineate the fact of the motor vehicle issues, the licensure to drive from the cash bail, though. Like, I mean, if you just think about the fact that we don't have public transportation and we don't live in like a big city, just like what the quality of life is because we don't have public transportation, and how much interaction with the government is because of our cars and our licenses. And if not for cars and licenses, you know, how much freer of a society would we be? And that's like,
Shyler, what do you think's going to happen with all the cars start going automated, and we'll probably have a lot of those, if not the majority of vehicles on the road in the next 5 to 10 years, I would think, are going to be fully automated. What's the need for the police going to be then?
Robo-copping it.
Well,
I mean, computers are.
I don't own a Tesla. I've been in a Tesla. I've watched videos.
It's pretty remarkable. I test drove one, and that autopilot feature is amazing. I can't wait to get one, especially now that I'm getting older.
I'm a Tesla bear.
And I'm not that great of a driver anyway.
I think that Tesla will one day will look back at it and be like, what was everyone thinking? But yeah,
what is going to be the purpose?
I don't think we're going full autonomous anytime soon. Maybe I'm an idiot.
No, I think we are in the next 5 to 10 years, I would think. But you're smarter than me, so you're probably right. But if I were guessing, but if and when it does go fully automated, what is going to be the need for the police? Because like you say, most everybody's interaction is because they're driving.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just I've seen so many of these Teslas, accelerate for no reason and bash into other things.
How many? You say so many. How many is so many?
Well, I'm a Tesla bear, so I spend my time sitting around watching videos of Teslas crashing.
Shyler, we need to get you some better hobbies.
Yeah, I know.
Steve, the answer to your question is there's still going to be a great need for police, even with autonomous cars, because there's still going to be incidences of domestic violence. There's going to be other person-to-person interactions like bar fights.
Jaywalking.
Yeah. Breaking and entering.
Good one, Jamie.
Other traditional things for which the police have a role in society and trying to protect society.
I know, but it's going to be a reappropriated role.
Not as aggressive and not relying on that for so much of their revenue generation.
Because,
that thing, I think.
my training as I came up was self-initiated field activity. And you better be out there screwing with people. That was the name of the game. And it was right on your daily observation reports, they call it, when you're in training with a training officer. And you better be generating some cypher, they called it, Jim. You better have a lot of cypher on your DOR, or they're going to be looking to broom you, because you're a probationary employee. They'll broom you in.
Gotta have the cypher.
Gotta have the cypher, and the cypher was traffic. You can get credit for other things, but the majority was out being in traffic, pulling people. The majority of your 90% of your CIFA came from your traffic stop.
What is CIFA? What is
self-initiated field activity?
Okay, thank you.
Steve knows all of. Steve's the best.
So Sheriff Fetterspiel was on this show, a long time ago now.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually talking about automated driving cars, and he's like, if that's the case and that's going on and they're determined safe and that's transportation, then light up. Whatever you want to do. I don't care why you're driving or why you're,
spark it up.
You're in there. So, Steve, while you were testing out the car, did you do stuff like masturbate and roll a joint at the same time?
No, because I had the Tesla employee in the car next to me. Otherwise, I probably would have.
No happy ending for the Tesla employee, apparently.
They probably had to answer that question.
I don't like doing those things in front of other people, Jamie.
You probably had to answer that question, though.
An exhibitionist,
Not as comfortable.
He would rather have the Tesla driver in there.
Now, if I been alone in the vehicle, oh yeah, game on for all of it. But it was, it's really cool. That automated feature is something. If you get a chance to go test drive one, do it, because it's fun.
No,
it's just it's interesting. It's amazing. Like, I had no confidence in it at first, Schuyler. I'll tell you that. And then the guy's like, just set your hand on it. Don't force it at all. Don't touch it. You just got to lay your hand on the wheel. It goes, and it keeps spacing between the vehicles around you, and it stops for the lights, and it's amazing.
My car allegedly has some kind of.
Yours has something.
Yours has lane correction.
It pulls me back into the lane. It also has an alarm when I'm getting close to a car. It has actual AI parallel parking. I haven't tried it yet. And it has a really cool feature, which is when you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, you can set a distance as part of the, pilot.
I wonder if they let your kids use that on the driving test when that comes up in a few years for your kids. For the parallel park, because you got to parallel park on the driver's test. I wonder if you could hit parallel park.
That's a pretty nice.
It's almost like the idea like people don't really need to know cursive anymore, because it's like
that bothers me.
I can't believe you have to take a test to drive.
Yeah.
I never had to take a driving test.
I didn't either.
I did the paper test, the one that it was impossible to fail.
That's all I had to do. They counted my driver's training class as my driver's test.
I had to take a test. We used to go to the driver's thing, and I don't know if you practice it. Oh no, you get like a temporary permit. The parents are supposed to take you out.
And then you drive.
And then you got to show up and take the test and drive.
No,
I didn't have to drive.
You don't drive. Or I didn't drive. I know you do now.
No, I had to schedule an appointment with a drive tester.
Did it change that?
The law
period of time, like just in our little.
Yeah. Yes.
It was like right around there, like so. You knew like your brothers probably had to get.
I think my brothers had to do the driver's test, but I did not.
I passed.
Good.
Time. I don't think they make you parallel.
What's happened to your driving since then?
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. Nothing that. Talking about convictions? Just kidding.
No, just daily driving.
I
know. So what else? Cash bail. So I think Schuyler is correct on the cash bail in that this will be a good time to differentiate between victim and victimless crime. And we should probably be looking to get rid of the victimless crimes altogether. Can we just stop that? Can we just stop that, please?
Is it what's driving while let's suspend? Is that a victimless crime?
That is a victimless crime.
What about the Secretary of State? Aren't they victimized?
No.
Yeah, I don't care about.
No.
What about all the other people that have the privilege to drive? Isn't it a privilege to drive?
How you mark it on the UCR crime report statistic sheet, Michael? When we used to do it on a sheet, turn an extra sheet of paper. Society/public was the victim on those.
Sure.
And that would be equal on the marijuana.
I know.
On the marijuana UCR crime reporting sheet would have been society public as well.
God, I've grown up in an institution of law that will make we'll make a hardened criminal out of a serial license suspended person.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, to the point where they would just get twisted into some shit, end up in front of the wrong judge that's going to use, like, you know, not, it's even worse than like the, well, you were drinking and driving those times, you didn't get caught, but like, you know
what?
like escalating and, you know.
I hate to admit it, but when I was an officer, I took the DWLS serious. And I'll tell you why. Because you know what? There's a lot of people out on the road that went through, towed the line, went through all the steps, got their licenses, got their ticket. When they got their tickets, they paid it. And this person, for whatever reason, never got their license. And so they didn't do it. So I was like, okay, well, in fairness to those who have gone to do what they needed to do to get licensed, I'm okay with arresting this person.
You know, it's
And
an,
that's
inter-
how I
listen,
justify
it's an
it to
interesting
myself.
point because I realized at some point before I became a lawyer and certainly after I became a lawyer that if you fuck around with that shit, you're fucked. Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get your shit in time, you pay your tickets late, your shit gets suspended. You gotta go back to court and get relief. Like, this is not a place you want to go. You don't, you know, and that's not knowing anybody. A citizen walking off the street asking a judge to, you know, fix it. Like, they're like, no, be a responsible human being. So I'm saying the whole idea of this is what you're saying is absolutely in principle true. I would say since
like
that,
I felt better arresting somebody for DWLS than I did for arresting them for marijuana.
Listen,
I'll tell
what I'm
you
saying
that.
is this. What I'm saying is this is what I'm saying.
Not
There are
that either
certain
one was
things,
good, but-
certain things that like that half the battle's knowing that you have to show up, right? You got to pay, you get this on time. Some people don't have the capacity to fully understand. And I'd also say this, Steve, what you said about, you know, all these people that exist that may fall into this fray and the number of people that are driving without a license was based upon an economy maybe that didn't have the same amount of disparity. You see what I'm saying? And when you made the comment that they may have lost their license for different reasons, I think therein lies a lot of what's taking place. There are truly people that, you know, have lost their license because they've had a lot of drunk driving. You know, there's a scale. There's a scale. Like you have, you know, and they shouldn't be versus people that, you know, their birthday came and they forgot to get their license renewed and they got a driving license suspended.
There are people that are
See what I'm saying?
a genuine danger to others.
Right,
deserve
but
to have their license suspended.
Right. I'm saying this. So I'd say, like, yes, and I would say that there's two things we're talking about. We're talking about genuinely, like, the person that is their shit together, right? If someone's going to be faulty on a ticket in a police officer's, you know, on a suspension, they got a bad record, they probably got some shit in the car. Right,
The case I just took
starts
in
leading
today.
you down the trail.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like if they are carrying some kind of, they're carrying dirty, driving dirty, they didn't think to hide it the right way because they don't even pay their fucking tickets on time.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I get that from a
What's
whole
your
lot
case today, Schuyler?
And I'm not.
Equipment violation resulted in the driver ending up in my office for smelling like marijuana.
Yeah.
And then the
That's how it
passenger
goes.
had warrants.
Yeah.
And so he booked it.
That was a good stop.
Now he's serving at least 17 to 5. It sounds like.
What?
All equipment violation.
The passenger?
17 to 5.
Yeah.
17 months to 5 years?
Yeah, for fleeing.
For fleeing.
What were the warrants for?
Shit.
I didn't ask. It's not my, my guy, has this.
What's he
happened like
being
a year
charged
ago.
with?
Your guy was the driver or the passenger?
My guy's the driver, and he's been waiting on blood forever. So
Did he
so
flee?
9 months
Oh,
later-
your guy, the passenger jumped out of the car and ran, you're saying?
Right, but
Okay.
the point is, like, it's equipment violation. So
Right.
if we're going to talk about the inequity of not having to post a $500 bond when we're pulling people over because they don't have an out tail light, give me a break.
Not just an out taillight.
I'm sorry. We're also.
There's no such thing as a taillight being out anymore, by the way.
The driver's license light
statute
is
for-
the one I like. The plate light.
It's all
Yeah,
ridiculous.
license plate light is a good one.
No.
You want to know what's an even better one? Cracked windshield.
No, that's
That can be a vision obstruction. What do you say to that,
Absolutely.
counselor?
I think it's all a bunch of bullcrap. If you can't,
You are correct, sir.
Problems with inequity in the system, so let's abandon cash bail while realizing all these poor people get pulled over for not having perfectly maintained cars. And if we're talking about the miraculous technology of a fully autonomous
Oh, it's going to be great, Shyler. It's going to be great.
Why are we putting those little stickers on our license plates every year where we have to like show up and pay money for a little colored
It's our
sticker?
birthday present
This
from
is
the
the
state.
dumbest shit I've ever. I couldn't even.
And we do it.
What is this?
We do it. We all bitch about it on the day we got to do it because that's our birthday present to the state.
That's right.
And,
And
then we just do it, and then the next day we forget about it and we move
your
on.
License plate anyway to see if you have insurance. So what the hell is the point of this?
They do.
We just accept it and we pay the fee.
The point is that
move
it's
on.
incredibly easy for a police officer to sit on the side of the road and watch and see what colored stickers are passing by.
I knew a few guys who did that.
Yeah.
They were the color sticker watchers.
I got pulled over for having an expired tab 1 year for that.
That sounds like inequity. We need to
It
ban the
was.
colored stickers.
No,
It's
I mean-
also racist. We shouldn't have colored stickers.
Well, I don't know if it was racist.
It's so millennial
and,
of you.
And the police officer was actually pretty kind. I mean, it was not a big deal, but, you know.
But he's not stopping you for that, Jim. He's stopping you because it might be a key into something else in
It
this
might
car.
be. Might be.
I don't know. He looks a little too skinny to me.
It might be on the...
What could he be involved in?
On the smack. It's not good.
So that's what those are. It's the traffic code is not about the motoring safety of the public.
No.
It is about the war on drugs.
Well,
And that's the initial tool belt that those cops have in the war on drugs is the uniform traffic code and especially the defective equipment shit.
Well,
It's broken window policing. You know, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's easy. But I'm gonna disagree with you, Steve, and tell you that the colored tab on my plate makes me feel safer as the Motor Republic. I don't know what I'd do without it.
Good. I'm glad you find some security in there.
I do. I think about it quite often. No, I don't. Who gives a shit? Why isn't this shit digital? I totally agree with Schuyler. It's absolutely.
What about this
fucking
last go
ridiculous.
around? You got to get a star on your fucking license. What about that?
Oh,
Yeah.
the enhanced.
Yeah.
The enhanced license.
That's the real ID. Yeah, if you want to fly, you better do it, buddy. But I was on that I've had an enhanced ID
First of
for
all,
many years.
the requirement to renew your license, the requirement to go in, if that is one, because sometimes you have to go in, you cannot do it. In fact,
your last one you had.
I had to go in. It is the common denominator of democracy. You're forced to go in and participate in this fucking, government agency line.
It is a miserable
that everybody else has to live in. It is. I mean,
and you know what? It doesn't matter because we don't have any rights when it comes to driving because it's just a privilege.
But what is great? What is great about the SOS is everybody gets fucked.
Right, Shiloh?
No, I would say, listen. Let me say something to you. Let me say something to you.
It is
Let me
a
say something to you.
privilege.
I believe that I was in a situation, if I recall, that I could have been, according to the rules, I could have been denied the license that I wanted. Remember, like what was I like? You got to prove, you got to have your passport, right, or some other ID, and they give you one or two. Like you got to have your birth certificate, your current driver's, or my passport is expired by 2 years and a couple of days.
you and I were going rounds about all
It's
this.
so I'm a little off. I'm like, damn, now I got to get my passport. I got to get it in time before I got to go in.
Such a pain.
So I went in with all this stuff, and I'm like, before I even, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it, you're close enough. It was like one of those, like, what? What about the rule? Like, like, don't worry about it, you're fine. And I'm telling you this.
Who went into this?
We
appointment
made
with
we got a, and there's something to this. We were in an advantage because we knew how to manipulate their new system that they came in. Not manipulate's the wrong word, but we found every place locally that could get us in the fastest. Yep. It's by digital. They texting you in the moment. I'm standing in a line. They're like, okay, you're next in line. I'm like,
yeah.
They're like, okay, walk up to the
Pretty
counter
good.
now. The guy's walking. It's like that kind of stuff. It was so that common denominator. The last time I was there, I felt like I was treated pretty well, like better than most places that I go actually. You know what I mean? It was like
they're getting better. Yeah.
I will say, I'll tell you that
I've had bad experiences there though.
Before the
They're in the bank.
before the changeover. Who was it before? It was Terry Lynn Land.
Terry Lynn Land.
And
she's now a regent in one of the universities.
They had that appointment system working like it was great. It was working terrific. And the second that Jocelyn Benson took over, I mean, the system was down, like literally immediately, and was for months. And they still have not gotten it right. I mean,
I was there. It must have been this last year or two, right? So she would have been.
Yeah, it was.
She may have gotten. I mean, like you have a choice.
I can't get an appointment now. You try to get an appointment now, you're booking like months out.
April.
I should say
my
mine
daughter's got one in April.
So your expired license, they won't get you in.
So yeah, it's that. And listen to this.
Do they have digital licenses yet?
I had an appointment back in December. I wasn't going to need the appointment, but I kept the appointment because my daughter needed the appointment to renew her license. I'm like, you can take my appointment. She shows up to the appointment. They would not let her have my appointment.
Wow.
They would not let her have my appointment, and they made her book a new appointment for April.
That's hardcore.
And they're usually quite friendly out at the Howell Secretary
Not
of State.
anymore, buddy.
Woo!
Well.
They would not let her in. I mean, I wonder if I would have been there with her. Would they have let her go in with me then and conduct her business, I wonder.
Maybe.
But I thought, I got this appointment, here, other family member can use it, Why isn't it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
Well, Jocelyn.
I could see a market developing here. Somebody could go and like tie up a bunch of appointments and then sell them.
Yes.
Seriously.
There's an app that you can stand in line for someone at aid in big cities.
Wow.
That's
cool. Capitalism is so cool.
Well, you know what? If there's a lot of different ways to make money, Schuyler, then a lot of people are out there working. And the more people are out there working, the more money that's pumping into the system.
They're standing in line
everybody's
for rich
happy.
people, Steve.
I know. It almost begs. It almost begs the question of whether the 1% is it necessary to create all these jobs for doing stuff for things that they. And I'm kidding. That's terrible, but. That is more of an exemplified problem. That's a thing that someone could get a job for instead of like a real something else.
I was never a line cutter. I was never that cool to be a line cutter, and that's where I draw the line. But I mean, what about these people who are line cutting in the COVID tests?
So you think what I did with my daughter in that situation was wrong then, Shiloh?
No. Just the marketplace for
waiting in line for people.
Yeah, waiting in your line is a little nuts.
Why though?
That's
Don't
funny.
you think that it's good that people are gonna get if somebody's willing to do the job in the market and people?
It's not a bad job. It's not highly laborious.
Provided.
I mean,
some people some people are going to sit on their phone. If they're a college student, maybe they just want some low impact job.
It could be a good college student job.
In line,
I don't know.
You guys win. I'm gonna go be a Luddite or something. A non-line cutting line.
What about when you're going to stand in line and you see someone that you know and you go stand by them to talk and pretend like you're talking to them and trying to stay in line? What would you call that? Because
that's offensive.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Everybody tries
Michael's one of those guys who does that.
That's how you get. That's how you get your ass kicked.
There's a Larry David episode about that. Everyone tries to do it and everyone calls everyone out who knows the trick and stuff. But places,
My point is the things in the system that do all kinds of shit that doesn't make sense. Stop doing the stuff that doesn't make sense. Let's use some common sense here now.
Wouldn't that be
A
nice?
lot of people in the world are very educated now, and we understand things, and we don't need to be tricked anymore and lied to. It is what it is. I mean, just do what makes sense. I mean, my daughter shows up for my spot in line. Let her have it, for God's sakes. That just... The spot was available and open because I had reserved it.
Yep.
Yeah. But like Schuyler and Michael are saying, it turns into fucking a whole industry.
my Secretary of State appointment that I
Waiting
tried
in
to
line.
make for my August birthday is in February.
Yeah, I waited. I had bought a motorcycle back in May, and I didn't get title on that thing until November.
See, that's what I'm saying is why?
If I get pulled over for an expired sticker in this COVID nonsense because of the inability for the state to function.
Oh, they're pulling. They are pulling people over, and I'll tell you why. Because I've seen a few plates now that say, I have my appointment at the Secretary of State on such and such a date. And that immediately told me that the cops are out there full game right now. And if you don't have a plate or if your sticker is expired or whatever, they're still pulling you over. They may not write you a ticket for it, but they're pulling you over because you know why, Schuyler? It's against the law, and it's a reason to stop.
We're in an emergency.
Well, that's the law.
Schuyler, don't you...
To process and comply with his own law.
How does that fall under federalism, though? The law is the law is the law.
Lenity, Schuyler, lenity.
The law
doesn't apply here. This is the government's failure again.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but this is what the cops are thinking. This is what the cops are doing. It is a reason to stop.
You know what the judge would say? The judge would tell Schuyler.
Still alive and well.
There was a.
If they pull me over, I'm going to the Supreme Court. I don't give a shit.
The judge is going to say, Mr. Engel, you knew there was a pandemic back in March, and you waited till July to try to schedule an appointment.
My birthday was in August, and I thought the state was competent.
There may be an order of some kind that exists or was reinstated suspending the ticketing and or criminalizing of suspended shit.
Yeah,
Is
they
that
can
right?
still pull you over for it.
Yeah, but they can still pull you over for it.
Yes.
It's a reason to stop. Driving is a privilege. It's not a right.
Yep. That's my area of law now.
Is driving without a valid plate.
Well, Schuyler, we're going to take them all to trial.
Here's a better question.
I knew that. I knew that Schuyler was a Federalist, but I didn't think that he prescribed to this whole constitutional right to travel. But good for him. I guess we're going to see if it works out.
Yeah, I'm a sovereign citizen when it comes down to it.
I know it, Schuyler, but they got us where they say driving is a privilege, it's not a right. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's been like the law for like 100 years, some nonsense like that.
What? The law that driving is a privilege and not a right?
Yeah, that like happened almost immediately. And
yeah.
I'm not going to pretend to know about it, but I know it's been around forever. And it's because people, it was because people who were in horses and buggies at the time that it became a privilege, the automobile was brand new, and they thought it was like a rocket car, and so they needed to license people to operate such this,
rocket car.
This magnificent thing.
All licenses are a privilege, Schuyler. Let's not kid ourselves. They're an they're an entitlement.
You're deprived of your right to drive. You don't have a job, and then you cannot eat. Where is public transportation?
That's disparity.
Let's say Howell. How is the bus taking to your job in Howell?
Well, we have the Let's bus out there.
What's that like? Have you ever used it?
Listen, I've heard it's a terrible thing to try and use. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, okay. Give me a break.
They have neighbors and stuff taking them, or bicycles or whatever.
Does everybody get a nurse's license?
It's snowing. Take a bicycle. I'm conservative here.
I need medical treatment, Schuyler. I need medical treatment. My doctor's available. Can I get Steve to get a doctor's license real quick so I can take care of my ailments so he can prescribe me some medications?
Yeah.
He should. Just there's no license.
Yeah.
There's no privilege with the license. There's no requirements to get a license. There's no state right.
Occupational licensing is a form of slavery.
I agree with you, Schuyler.
I didn't realize this. So the Federalists, there's no such crime in federal law, which would be like practicing medicine without a license.
Society is nothing other than people who are interested in the law.
Oh,
and
please,
like to
whatever,
have dinner
whatever.
together.
This is like my.
Yeah, right.
And they clearly did not like my type of persuasion.
You know how?
Like, I'm not saying that I was the cool guy at the Federalist Society.
How free of a society do we live in, where you have to go get all this extra school and get this special license just so you can go into this big magnificent building and speak to this judge?
Yes.
Because I can't just walk in off the street and go in and speak to the judge. I got to have a license to practice law to do that. How free of a society is it where I can't, as Joe Citizen, go in and talk to that judge? I have to have a special license to do
know the
that.
law better than half the lawyers.
That's not.
I don't know about that.
Yes, it is.
I don't know about that.
The cops,
the cops make up their own shit most of the time.
Shiler's was more of a rip on lawyers than it was empowerment of police officers. A reality is that police officers don't need to know the law because even if they're mistaken in the exercise of their duties, more likely than not, it will be excused.
Well, that's probably one of the only professions where you don't need a special license to just go in and speak to the judge. That would be police officer. I could go into any courtroom any day, and most of the judges would push the attorneys to the side and speak to me because they liked me.
Here's something
Do you know
that's
how many hours basic training is?
No. Listen to me here. Want to hear something that's crazy? The person who may be signing a search warrant after being presented an affidavit can be in Michigan a citizen who has no legal training but is then hired into the position of magistrate.
Magistrate does not need to be an attorney. I think I'd be a good magistrate. Don't you, Shiler?
Why not?
I think I'd be fair.
When I was running around to courts, the magistrate in East Point was also.
Oh, we lost him. He froze.
Also what?
Damn it. Shiler froze right when he was.
He may come back. Hold on.
He was mid-sentence.
Yeah, his internet locked up on us.
Oh, damn it, Shiler.
Your Wi-Fi router.
Ours or his?
Probably his. Because we're good still.
Interesting poses.
Darn it, he was right in the middle of something good,
it was
too.
a good story coming.
It's pretty broken out there. All right, we carried it over. I looked at this 10 minutes ago. It was like 20, it was 22. Let's go. Let's call it in. We lost Shiler. All right.
All right, damn it. Well, that was a good show. I'm glad Shiler came on.
He's fun.
Oh, he's back.
Alan, are you having fun? Where'd you go? You don't think you did disappear and not...
I can't hear you, Shiler. I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, guys.
There you go.
So the Zoom kicked me out, but the probation officer in East Point was also the magistrate.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, there's some courts up north like that where the court administrator is the probation officer, is the magistrate.
I understand that, but this is East Point. You know how many people go through there?
Right. Well, that guy was probably a retired police officer who had probably been kissing the court's ass for a lot of years and worked that position up for himself for when he retired.
She was just some lady from the community.
Really? She was probably getting double pay too. She was probably making 120.
No.
She was a nice lady though.
It's $40,000 a year, and you have to be the magistrate. You got to be the this and the that. It's like they win because you don't have to hire a lawyer. Like, if it's a lawyer, they want to pay more. That was my impression of it.
You think more courts would do it? Get like retired police officers and stuff to be magistrates. Or citizens off the street. Who cares?
I brought that up at one of the things.
Somebody wants to do it and they're a reasonable person. They have a decent understanding of the law and how to properly live, I guess. I mean, why not?
You know, this is the problem. The person who is hired is in fact hired. It is a paid job.
Yeah.
And they're selected by the chief judge of the district court has been elected, and they shall serve for district courts at the authority and at the pleasure of the circuit or the district court chief judge. So they hire who they want, who they know will reflect their opinions. Just as a matter of course, we had a magistrate that Charlotte and I became familiar with in a certain county that can remain nameless, St. Clair County, and they magistrate in trying to explain why his signature didn't appear on the actual signed search warrant.
Affidavit for search warrant.
Affidavit for search warrant. His comment was, and besides, every single time this officer has presented me an affidavit, I've always signed them. Like, you know, like that's my, like if he's giving it to me, I've signed
That's his go-to.
It's like there's no.
He's good.
Like there's no way I didn't sign it. And if
This
I didn't,
officer
if he
has-
gave it to me, I signed it. And
This
you know,
officer has so much credibility that I just see his face and I sign it. That's how credible this officer is and how much integrity.
Integrity.
And for some reason, I couldn't win that. I couldn't win in that. For some reason, like.
Who was the officer? M?
Yeah, of
A?
course. Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. He learned all that shit down in Detroit.
The same entity that.
Yep. That's where he learned.
That created this legal nuance in the Fourth Amendment called a investigative detention for 3 days.
Little investigative detention.
That didn't make it past
I would hope not. It's illegal.
We're trying to go to the Supreme Court now, and immunity from arrest. And
I can't believe that.
and in the same, out of the mouth of the same, Charlotte, I don't know if you know this, out of the mouth of the same serial Fourth Amendment violator, you know who I'm talking about. He said, I go, if he has his card and it's less than 2.5 ounces and there's no other reason for you to believe it's outside of his limitations, why did you investigatively detain him? He says, well, Mr. Camorn, you know, just because they have the right amount of marijuana and they have their card doesn't mean they're in compliance. We have to investigate behind the card. Okay, so that's like the mentality.
Yeah,
serial arrester.
The card just tells you that there's something there. And I will have you know that I told my officers the opposite.
That was actually argued by the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office as late as 2017.
I believe it.
Harwick Tuttle?
No, I had a former, now retired drug unit prosecutor argue that the cards were evidence of a crime.
What? Where? Who? When?
Shannon.
We've heard that on other cases too.
That's the most fucking ridiculous shit.
A Federalist couldn't agree with that.
Shannon grilled me, remember, on my as my membership in LEAP.
Yep.
Shannon grilled me on the stand one day, and then I was declared an expert by
right.
Judge Warren.
702,
Anyway.
702, baby.
Yes, sir.
Jamie, what have you been doing down there?
Yeah. You look like you were doing something weird.
After years of yoga. Yeah.
Exactly.
What were you looking
He's
down
achieved
at?
enlightenment. Is that what you're doing there?
He's showing off his special stretching techniques.
Yep.
They call it in some places.
He had to have a couple ribs removed.
Diggity.
They call it. What do they call it? It's.
Sucking your own dick.
That's what they call it.
Contortionist. That's how I was coming with.
Contortionist, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, Jamie. That's what I wasn't. Okay.
That's what he was getting at.
Alluding to.
Next week on Planet Green Trees, we will be using our favorite yoga poses to get into our best contorted positions. That'll be the question. I want everyone to be ready for a downward dog or whatever you may choose. Okay, so don't come to the table next week tightened up. Make sure you're loose and limber.
Be limber.
Yeah.
See
We should
you
do it.
guys.
Charlotte,
See you,
wants to go.
Charlotte. Thanks for coming
All right,
on.
good stuff.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Yeah,
Next
that's
week
that's
too,
enough.
buddy.
And we've had
Good
a.
night, Charlotte. Be safe.
Thanks for sticking it out. Bitcoin.
Yes, sir. Oh yeah.
I know what that means. It's like a
Oh
funny.
yeah.
The Planet Green Trees Show.
Join the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org. The MMMA is focused on the well-being and safety of medical marijuana patients. The MMMA site provides the most comprehensive and up-to-date news on legal issues, politics, research, cultivation, as well as the various strange products and methods of cannabis use. Come join the discussion with the most knowledgeable and passionate advocates in Michigan today. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
Before you plea, call me, Attorney Michael Comorn.
An important and historical farm crop in American agriculture is returned after having been classified as a controlled substance and illegal. On December 20th, 2018, the President signed the Farm Bill, also known as the Agriculture Improvement Act of 2018, into law. The signing of the act was great news for the hemp industry, which amended the definition of marijuana in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. Hemp is now defined as the plant, Cannabis sativa L, and any part of the plant, growing or not, with less than 0.3% THC concentration on a dry basis. The plant itself is no longer a controlled substance. Hemp is one of the most versatile plants on earth. From clothing, fiber, paper, building materials, hempcrete, biofuels, CBD, and medical uses, it has been a part of America's industry for over 200 years. Even the United States Constitution was drafted on hemp paper. The time is now. If you're thinking of getting in the farming or processing of hemp, contact our global experts, legal, and consultation teams to make sure that you're on the right road when you venture into the new hemp industrial revolution. Michigan Hemp Industries has been a leader and advocate for the return of the hemp industry, so come be a part of the new revolution in agriculture in Michigan.
We have launched.
We have completely launched. We've started the show, and it is Planet Green Trees. We're about to embark 2 hours of medical marijuana and marijuana reform in Michigan, and nationally and internationally, and even in Spaceland. There's an argument that we evolved from the cannabis plant. Let's just be honest, okay?
Ow, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing?
420th episode.
If you're a connoisseur, you're going to want the good stuff. And if you want the good stuff, you're going to go for the mom and pop stuff because that's the good stuff.
It's just a real pleasure to come here and congratulate you on your 420th show, and thank you for having me on a few times over the 420.
Dr. Bud Green here. Welcome to our
Comorn Law. Michael Comorn is one of the top attorneys in Michigan that has experience and dedication in criminal defense law. Comorn Law can take your case from arrest all the way from trial, appeals, and even to the Supreme Court. The team at Camoran Law has the compassion and the experience you can look to for help in your time of need. Camoran Law has over 25 years experience in criminal defense. We have accomplished numerous legislative changes through community involvement and lobbying. Our award-winning law firm has a reputation like no other for keeping overreaching government accountable and in check. We have built Camoran Law for people who need lawyers to stand up to the system, fight back and win. Once we become your lawyer, you become a part of our family. Don't settle for less, just ask our clients. Camoran Law, the best damn criminal defense lawyers, period.